This is a More Than Just Podcast production.
Welcome to the Predator Badlang podcast. Oh, wait, that's all right. Welcome to Spockies, Season 9, Episode 6. My name is Tim Mitra. I am in Toronto, Ontario, and I'm joined by Jonathan Ko'Zeine in Florenceville, Bristol, New Brunswick.
Hello there, kids.
And we're also joined by Jaime Lopez Jr. in Seattle, Washington.
How's it going?
And you'll soon find out why I started the show that way. Anyway, but hang on, it'll be exciting. In the meantime, we have some fact check. According to Terry O'Reilly on the Under the Influence podcast, the Clydesdale horses ad in the Superb Owl using the 8-horse hitch is based on the fact that Budweiser delivered a case of beer to Franklin Delano Roosevelt after he repealed prohibition, and that's why the horses are used in the ad. Like that's why you always see those ones there. And this particular episode, American Icons, was the pony and the eagle and stuff, but it also celebrates the 250th anniversary of the United States and the 150th anniversary of Budweiser. So that's why the significance of the Clydesdale at the Superb Owl, and
sometimes Tauntauns.
And sometimes Tauntauns. Oh, I missed that. I got to go back and watch the Tauntauns. But and I was also talking about Nicolas Cage films, and surprisingly, they weren't the last two films that he did. He's done quite a few of them since that I wasn't aware of. So I take back what I said about the last two being good, because what I was talking about specifically was Dream Scenario and Pig. Dream Scenario is about this one where he plays a school teacher who starts appearing in the neighbors' dreams. Like they all have these nightmares, and he's like the main perpetrator in the dreams. And that's the setup, and I'll just leave it there because it's quite apocalyptic. It's a little bit like The Boys kind of thing. And then Pig was the one about the pig that he's a chef, in recluse chef who had this pig that found truffles, and somebody steals it and he has to go and try and find it. Anyway, that's the two I was thinking about. And then Come, Let's Away. It was actually Come, Let's Away to Prison is from the Tragedy of King Lear, Act 5, Scene 3. And it basically is King Lear's desire to retreat from the chaos of being king and all that kind of stuff. And he wants to go to prison, and that way they can live in a sort of little confined space and be away from the world. But that's where the Come, Let's Away comes from. And I was talking last week about YouTube on Vision Pro. I wrote a real brief article on it as part of my newsletter this week. But the big thing I didn't talk about was the fact that it supports 8K video, which is why I think I mentioned that sometimes videos are clearer. I didn't realize that was the case, but if you click on the little gear thing, you see where you can choose high def or SD or whatever. There's like some giant 9,000 number that appears, which is basically saying that you're looking at, like, I can watch the Grogu trailer in 8K on the Vision Pro, as well as the 360 experiences, which I talked about last week as well, right? And I interviewed Mike Bundy on More Than Just Code podcast. That's in the latest episode. And he is a big fan of Fallout. He's played all of the Fallout games. He's got like 300 level or something like that, he said. And he said that the Fallout New Vegas is like a one-to-one creation. What you see, he said he could go into his game and he could take a screenshot of the New Vegas, and what we see on the TV show is one-to-one what's in the game. So
nice.
And I said, what do they take from the game? He says, everything. Right. So even though Ella Parnell's character is kind of a conglomeration and the ghoul is kind of a conglomeration, but yeah, he says it's totally like he loves the TV show because just like the game that he loves.
I saw a few people posting the scene from the finale. Jaime, have you caught up? I'm going to spoil something.
I just caught up tonight.
Oh, thank God.
I was working through it. I was just caught up. I was squeaking through with like 10 minutes to go before this, show started recording.
All right. Hallelujah. There's a scene in the finale where there is a soldier who is shooting a shot from a high vantage point, and it does a slow motion of from the shooter's perspective, shooting down into the crowd. Apparently that's taken straight out of one of the games. The look, all that is like a straight lift, which again, for people who are fans, that must be a real thrill. I mean, I love it when they do those like one-to-one shots. Occasionally you'll see that in things like, The Walking Dead, or you'll see that in other things that are transferred from one art form to the other. And Polar Express is one that always pops to mind for me because my kids used to read that book and then they made the movie, and there are literal exact painted panels from the children's book that ended up on the screen. But I always love it when they can throw those little Easter eggs in.
Neat. Yeah, cool. All right, well, let's head over to the headlines, and Jaime's up first.
Yeah, years later, can't imagine that this franchise, after having such a troubled beginning, and getting internet bullied, which I'm not advocating for internet bullying, but a blind squirrel finds an acorn every once in a while. The Sonic the Hedgehog franchise has continued to add actors. So Ben Schwartz and Idris Elba and Keanu Reeves have voiced Sonic, Knuckles, and Shadow. And now Kristen Bell is going to voice Amy Rose, who was in the end credits teaser. So they just keep adding. I mean, pretty soon, Sir Ian McKellen's going to be in there, I'm sure, and a variety of other people. And I somehow didn't mention Jim Carrey, but he appears in the flesh. He's not a voice for one of the characters. So this is
I don't know who Amy Rose's character is. Would I know that?
Not necessarily. So there's a whole stable of characters. You may have seen a pink hedgehog. So that's Amy Rose. Her character varies. She sort of started out as like a obsessive fangirl of Sonic, and then became kind of more of a character in and of herself in other iterations. So they might sort of take bits of both on this one.
Yeah, I remember her from my kids used to watch the 1990s cartoon series, and she was one of the characters in there. And I remember her from that, and then when they got into sort of the post-2000 era of Sonic games, she definitely became a much more active participant than background character. So yeah, that's cool. I mean, Kristen's so great, and she does have a very distinctive yet workable voice. So I think she'll do great.
Mm-hmm. Couple of related news items. So ByteDance, the makers of TikTok, just like a lot of other folks, have been doing a lot of work in AI, and the C Dance, so SEE dance, one word, 2.0 video generator caused a big I don't know, a big splash of some sort, maybe like a kerplunk, if you think of it that way, where I saw on X, formerly known as Twitter, a fake video of Tom Cruise fighting Brad Pitt on top of a rooftop, and people have done like Jet Li versus Jackie Chan. I've seen Keanu Reeves as both Neo and John Wick fighting. It's scary how good this stuff is. And then the follow-on story is, ByteDance is going to tweak its safeguards on its new AI model after Disney and Paramount and other folks from Hollywood said, "Yo, that's not cool. Stop touching our IP."
So these are shorts that they're doing on TikTok and stuff?
I think the model is limited to like 15 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. Like it's very expensive to process this sort of thing. So I think if people are going to make movies or something, you're going to do it like kind of like a director, right? Like think about it in 3 to 10 second kind of cuts.
Yeah, I'm going to paste a link in the show notes. I saw a video the other day that was probably like a 2-minute trailer kind of thing, or almost like a full story with characters, and this one character she starts running down the street, and it's completely believable, like in terms of disaster and everything, until she gets in the Cybertruck and starts driving around, and then it becomes completely unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like a helicopter that crashes into a building, and and it's with explosions, and it looks just like a movie, but yeah, it's all AI generated apparently from Door Brothers. And they said it made a $200 million movie in one day. It's all AI.
Wow. All right. You ready for some trailerama? We got a lot of stuff on trailers this week. Starting with The Mandalorian and Grogu, an actual trailer, not just a bunch of random tauntauns and Super Bowl ads. What we got a more robust look, a little bit closer to some plot points. It seems like this is sort of like they're on a mission from God, and they're going to go find all the. This is like Nazi hunting in the 1950s. They're going to go hunt down all the Imperials that are on the list for their war crimes, and they're going to catch or kill them all.
That's interesting.
Dark for a movie about Grogu, do you think?
I guess. You think that's the gist of what you got from that?
They seem to be indicating that because when Grogu and Mandalorian are standing there and they're talking to what's her name from Ghostbusters? Oh, I'm learning like Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver, aliens. Think of her.
Yes, thank
aliens.
you. When they're talking to Sigourney Weaver's character, he says, "We'll catch every single one in your deck," which is basically the deck of cards is what they used to give out to the soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq too, right? They used to give them the playing cards that had people's faces on them, and we've seen that come back around in Mandalorian, where like they get the little cards that basically are like, "This is your bounty." So it seems like the New Republic has basically got bounties out on all these ex-Imperials, and these two are going to go clean up the galaxy. Which, again, he's a bounty hunter, so it makes sense that the movie should be about bounty hunting, but also seems a little bit like Nazi hunting.
I guess, yeah. It's funny that you, the writer, would pick that up.
I mean, it in a world where that word Nazi has popped up once or twice in the last little while, it definitely came to mind.
Yeah, so I also, it's funny because I came across a trailer too, but the one I saw was identical to your trailer, except the mine ends up saying that it's going to be in IMAX.
Yeah, I mean that's a no-brainer, of course. I mean, it's a Star Wars movie, so if it didn't come in IMAX, I would have been genuinely shocked.
Well, I wonder if it's going to be 3D IMAX, right? Because we've seen a few movies that are in 3D that weren't in IMAX. They weren't 3D in IMAX, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's I thought it looked good. I mean, Jaime, what did you make? Did you pick anything good out of this? Anything different or stand out?
The thing that stood out to me is, oh no, Mando shows his face again, but now he knows where the waters are of Mandalore, so maybe he just takes a little pit stop and jumps in there. Is it okay now, given the way that the most recent season ended?
It seems like there's two things happening. In one of the cuts, it looks like somebody is forcibly removing his helmet, which is a big no-no. Mm-hmm. But then we also see that part where he seems like he's got his helmet off, and we see the monster in the lake, which we never really saw in the show, right? We knew that monster lived in the lake. That's where they get their insignia on their shoulders, right?
Right.
Remember, there's a whole storyline in The Mandalorian where he like goes to this special place because he has to, whatever, and we know that there's this like legendary monster in the lake, but we don't know. I don't think we ever actually get to see. We know that it's under the water, but I don't think we get to see it other than like in the water, right?
Yeah, just a quick glimpse that Bo-Katan sees when he's in the I think it's the living waters.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's like a cheat code now where he can just dunk himself in there every time,
Yeah, just hit the refresh button. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's like getting new lives. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's weird because they were kind of like deliberately obtuse about showing it for real. And then it's weird that after all that time of not really showing it, they show it in a trailer as opposed to like waiting for the big surprise in the movie. Doesn't that seem a little odd to you guys?
Well, we talked about spoilers and trailers many times for the last couple of weeks, right?
Well, that one for Project Hail Mary, I think, has been sticking in both of our craws for a while. Yeah. I mean, I'm no more or less hyped, I would say, having seen this trailer than I was to know that the movie was coming, and I don't know. It's a weird one. Like, do they need to sell you on certain movies? Like, if they said, hey, there's a new Star Trek movie, are you just going? If they say there's a new Star Wars movie, aren't you just kind of going? I mean, maybe we're in the bag for this stuff, and maybe we're just indoctrinated to the point of stupidity, but like, are these going to change anything for you? I think about this when I see like, trailers for obvious movies. It's like trying to tell little kids like, hey, there's a new Toy Story movie. Cool. Do you want to see the trailer? Why? I'm going to go see the movie. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole intent of the trailers, is try and get you interested in it, right? But you're right. Yeah, like there's no point in showing us a Star Wars trailer because other than the fact that we'll all sort of kind of wonder how they fit into the story, but
then it ends up making me mad because I'm like, well, that's a spoiler. Well, that's a spoiler. Well, that's
yeah, 100%. Yeah. But I mean, it's meant for the people who aren't going to go, right? So
that's what I mean. I think we're too in the bag for this stuff. Maybe we're just a little too jaded. We're like, well, yeah, it's a movie about the Mandalorian. Of course, we're going to go see it.
Yeah, exactly. Take my money.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because when I started looking around on at the trailers when I went over to YouTube, there's a whole bunch of trailers that came out today or last couple of days.
Oh yeah.
Like yeah, I mean, I added a bunch of them to my thing, but I probably could have added like 10 more. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe 'tis the season. I honestly think that part of it, and it occurred to me today as I was catching up with a little bit of the Olympics. I had it on here in the background of my office while I was working, and was like, "Wow, I can't believe the Olympics are winding down in the next few days." And I was like, "I wonder if this is like, hey, we're going to start rolling out the commercials for stuff that's coming up in the next little while, because now people are like, well, the Olympics are over. What's next?"
Oh, okay, yeah. Or maybe they were things that couldn't get time in the Super Bowl or whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean, is it cheaper to advertise in the Olympics than the Super Bowl? Probably.
Was there an important hockey game on today? I don't know. I didn't really notice.
Don't get me started. Don't even go there. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I knew it was coming, by the way. It's just like the 2016 election. I knew that I had a bad feeling about that.
Well, you know what? All I'll say was both teams played really well.
Yeah.
And it was a fun game. And you know what? I have nothing but respect for those women on both sides.
I have always said the puck is made of rubber. You can never tell where it's going to go.
And you know what? The first time these two teams played, and we're talking obviously about the Canadian versus American U.S. Women's hockey teams, played for the gold medal at the Olympics today. The Americans won 2-1 in overtime. Very sad for us. Very great for the Americans. Congratulations. That American team is stacked. They are so good. I'm so impressed. I watch the PWHL games, and I know some of these players. I mean, what's her name? Abby Jacobson or whatever her name is incredible. There's so many great players. Hillary Knight, of course. I am just. I'm glad that it was a close game, because last time they played, the U.S. just mopped the floor with them. So, and that was my worst case scenario, was if either one of these teams just stomps the other one to the ground, it stops becoming fun.
Yeah, didn't they play? They played against each other in the lead up, right?
They did. They played each other last week, and the Americans, I think, won 5-0. And for those two teams, which are like the pinnacle of the sport, it was really hard to watch. And then this game was, at least it was down to the wire. It was neck and neck, anybody's game. I can't abide. Anyways, we're digressing too far from this, but yes, thank you for
carry on back to the trailers.
Thank you for ripping that Band-Aid off. I appreciate the blood all over my floor. I just stopped thinking about it like 10 minutes ago. How are you feeling, Jaime? Did you even know that they had won?
I was aware, yes, but I didn't watch live, so it kind of sucks, because like NBC's probably showing it right now as we speak.
Probably,
with the delayed stuff. But
I think we can count the Canadian gold medals on one hand now, right?
Yeah, I think we only have 4 or 5. It's not our banner year, but c'est la vie. Let's move on to our next trailer, he said, trying eagerly to get out of this conversation.
Yeah. About crashing and burning with dragons and stuff.
House of the Dragon. Speaking of going up in flames, House of the Dragon Season 3 teaser was put out today. This is our first look at the 3rd season of this show. They have announced it is coming in June. So when you factor in that A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is wrapping up on Sunday, we do not have a long wait before our next installment of the Game of Thrones universe, which is pretty exciting. This was a teaser, so it's only about a minute long, and it's really just kind of very lightly dancing around what's going to happen this season. I have read the books, so I'm not going to get too far into anything, but I'm curious. Tim, what'd you think?
There was a lot of stuff in this trailer. You said it was only a minute long?
Yeah.
Minute 30.
There was a ton of exposition from what I could see.
Well, there's actual dialogue. It's not just like, music and scene to scene to scene.
I mean, you can sort of get the gist of, like the whole Allison going to the Red Keep and all that kind of stuff. And at the end of it, you see our hero, I've forgotten her name now. Rhaenyra, she's like crying and it got a real angry look on her face, and Matt Smith is being Matt Smith, and and there's dragons, and there's people fighting and ships, and the water people, the uncle or whatever he is.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got his boat guys, and
yes, the boat guys,
the boatmen. Well, it's the Argos, right? they, it looks like there was a lot of stuff happening in this little, 30-second thing. It's like, yeah, it's going to be a pretty intense season, right? And probably only 8 episodes or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Jaime, how about you? How long did you say it was? A minute and...
Minute 33, although the last maybe 10 seconds are HBO Max, $10.99 a month.
Of course,
coming in June.
And what'd you think?
Yeah, it looks very intense. Looks like there's a lot going on here. So I'm pleased. I'm pleased.
It's not going to be any goofy weddings that they have to go to in the middle of the season, or... Oh wait, that's for later. Sorry.
So I will say, I think we talked about it when season 2 was on. Season 2 felt like a lot of sizzle and not as much steak. There was definitely some banger episodes, but there was a lot of like political intrigue, romance, kind of all over the place. And, of course, the season ended on, everything seeming like it was just about to boil over the pot. And so I think what they're giving us here is, hey, remember last time when it was a lot of sizzle? Well, here's the steak, right? So yeah, it's if it goes according to the script, it should be a banger of a season, and I think people are going to be pretty surprised by some of the developments. And again, I'm excited. I thought they did a fantastic job. There was definitely some nits to pick on the first and second season, but overall, I think the quality was quite high. I really enjoyed some of the portrayals. I really enjoyed some of the characters, and I mean, June, awesome.
Yep.
Speaking of Game of Thrones is also coming live to the stage. They're going to do the world premiere of the Royal Shakespeare Company in England of the Game of Thrones play, which is going to be a prequel to a Game of Thrones, and it is not written by George R.R. Martin, but he is serving as the executive producer and creator. So I don't know how that works. I don't know if this is similar to the Harry Potter play.
Wait for him to write it, wouldn't be on stage for another 10 years.
Well, that's a distinctly possible development. But yeah, I think it's going to be called Game of Thrones: The Mad King. So obviously, we've heard allusions to the Mad King. We've even seen him in flashbacks in the original Game of Thrones show. This is the one that clearly lost his marbles and was heard to be uttering "burn them all" until Jaime Lannister put a sword through him, earning the name Kingslayer. So it should be really interesting to finally get a look at this character. And of course, this is Daenerys' father too, right? Daenerys' long lost father. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes of this. I always find it weird when they do this. We talked about it, I think last week, Tim, you and I talked about the stage play of Stranger Things that is now going to be filmed so they can air it on Netflix. I wonder if we might get something similar on HBO, because it just feels weird to have a whole piece of mythology that's just out there, but only certain people who live in a certain place can watch it if they have a certain amount of money.
That's true, but that same could be said for the Cursed Child too, right?
It certainly is. At least Cursed Child has been touring the last few years, so you don't have to go to London's West End. You don't have to go to Broadway. You could have it come to, if you live in a large enough city or can make access to one. Although that being said, the next nearest city to me is that would have that kind of event would be Boston, and that's 6.5 hours from here. So
right, yeah, or Montreal.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, not to say we won't tour. It's just starting in the UK, right?
Yeah. Jaime, will you be making the trip to Stratford upon Avon to go see the Game of Thrones play?
I will not, and I do hope they do a Hamilton and have a filmed version that you can put on streaming so other people can see the lore.
Yeah, I suspect this will be one of those ones where, once it airs, someone will go on to Wikipedia or Reddit or wherever and put the full synopsis and any salient points that actually matter in the long run onto it and save you a long plane flight and or expensive theater ticket, should you feel so inclined to be a completist. Or maybe it'll come to HBO Max, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's get to Toy Story 5. The first trailer for that dropped just today, and I can't believe we're at Toy Story 5. That's kind of bonkers. Having seen Toy Story in the theater way back when, took a date in high school to go see that. And she said, "Why are you taking me to a children's movie?" And then I broke up with her. So,
really? Wow. Okay.
Hey, the same thing happened when I took a different girl to go see Nightmare Before Christmas. She's like, "Why are we at a kids movie?" I'm like, "Well, this is never going to work."
Right.
Yeah. You got to know what you're looking for, even at a young age. Toy Story 5. I mean, I'll admit, I enjoyed 4. I enjoyed 3. I enjoyed 2. I enjoyed 1. I've enjoyed the spin-off stuff. I'm 100% sure I'll watch this. I'm 100% sure I won't go see it in the theater unless one of my little cousins really wants me to take them. I do find it a little... I mean, there's definitely some jokes in this trailer about, like... there's a joke about Woody losing his hair, and there's definitely a nod and a wink to those of us who have been watching this for nigh on 30 years. It's it's been around a while.
Yeah, for sure. But AI's taken over again, right? So
I mean, it seems like a natural progression. Remember when the kid gets the iPad and doesn't want to play with the toys anymore?
Yeah, that's the. Well, there actually was a thing called LeapPad. Like they're this little toy. It's not a made up thing, right? So it's a computer for those of you driving it home. Or transporting it home. It's a computer tablet basically that the kids play with. And there's one point where I forgot the name of the girl, the little girl in the story. Her dad's like, "It's time for bed." She's like, "Yeah, okay." She's like staring into the screen, right?
Yeah, I think it does not help you and I that little girl looks an awful lot like my niece, your granddaughter, when she was that age. It's pretty bang on. Yeah.
I have one of my favorite pictures of Jonathan's kids. I forget who took it, but the two of them are sitting facing away from us, and they both got Nintendos in their hands, and their faces are lit by the screens.
Yeah. Yep. It's a truism for sure. And then that's kind of what these movies do, right? They kind of turn the mirror back on all of us. I mean, nostalgia is the sort of key ingredient to all the Toy Story movies. The first one about, leaving one place and going to another, and, the old toy versus the new toy. And then you get the second one with the, our toys, our toys collectibles, like they really do kind of hit you in those nostalgic sweet spots. This one seems to be no different.
I think her name is Holly, right? The girl?
Is it? I can't recall.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's Holly. Yeah.
Jaime, is this a couch watch, Jaime, or is this a go see?
I think this might be a go see. They've got some interesting stuff, like the callback to the bunch of Buzz Lightyears.
Oh yeah.
From like part 1 or part 2, maybe. I
think it's 2 where they go to the toy store. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of a neat one to see.
Yeah, they're fighting Zurg, I think, right?
That's right. Yep.
No, I love all the old the toys, like because all those toys were all based on real toys, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Like the Fisher Price phone and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, you ready to move on to the bummer part?
Yep, let's get it over with.
Okay, well, 2 unfortunate passings this week. The first was an all-time legend. Robert Duvall died this week at the age of 95. He was just the consummate actor that spanned generations. He worked with the best directors. He worked on the most important films of the 20th century. Worked on the Godfather films, Apocalypse Now. To Kill a Mockingbird was his first movie. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he played Boo Radley. Yeah, exactly.
This is just... I mean, icon doesn't quite cover it. This is one of the greatest actors that ever lived. And, to make it to 95 and to leave behind the legacy and acting that he did, to see the outpouring from his acting luminaries that he worked with, who are all just gushing about, not only was he just an unbelievable performer, but a good human being, is just, what else can you say? I mean, Academy Awards, he was a director, obviously we mentioned the big movies, but he did get into the sci-fi world. He certainly did. What was his claim to fame in sci-fi? Oh, that's right. He was in George Lucas's first movie, THX. This was one of the real ones. For me, he plays the editor-in-chief in the movie The Paper. When I was a young man, probably in my late teens, that movie came out, and I was on my way to becoming a journalist at that point. And his portrayal of the sort of cranky but wise editor-in-chief was always kind of, hit me in a very sweet spot of people that I know in that industry and would come to know in that industry. So, I mean, he just had incredible range and just unbelievable. I'm curious to hear from the two of you as to sort of what your memories are of this guy.
Yeah, I mean, like, The Godfather for sure. To Kill a Mockingbird is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, Apocalypse Now. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Right, that's one of the most iconic classic movie lines ever delivered.
Yeah, for sure. And then and he's been in a ton. He was like in Space, the one about that older astronauts. He was in that one. I think he was in. He might have been in that bad Bruce Willis Armageddon, I think it was called.
Well, if you recall, he was in a infamous Tom Cruise movie, Days of Thunder, as well. So
yeah. I don't think I've watched that one. I'm not a NASCAR fan, but I mean, you can just scroll. It's kind of Gone in 60 Seconds. Just scrolling through Deep Impact.
Yep, big parts, small parts, but always memorable.
Yeah, for sure. He's always a key character. He's sort of like the guy we were talking about, Sam, last week.
Sam Elliott. Yeah. So
was he the main character in THX?
I believe he was. Yeah. I believe he was. THX 1138, if you want to split hairs. But yeah. 1971, George Lucas's first movie. He was like the automaton. Yeah. Terrible movie, by the way.
What that?
THX is it's almost unwatchable. It's terrible. Yeah.
Jaime, what's True Grit?
In True Grit, he was in the original True Grit in the 1960s.
And Bullet. He was in Bullet too.
Yeah.
Cab driver.
Jaime, what's your relationship to Robert Duvall?
I definitely saw him as being a guy in a bunch of movies. I can't remember. I don't think I've seen THX 1138. So I don't know that I've seen him as like the main character. He's usually been gruff characters of some sort. That's what I kind of think of, right?
Yeah, hard men. Yeah,
like a government person, or that's maybe an antagonist, or reluctantly helping the protagonists and similar. So that's kind of what I was like looking at his filmography. I'm like, Stalin. I'm like, wow, 1992. I guess I have to check that one out.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable when you look at how many movies he was in over his career. It is staggering. Like, and
also lots of early TV too. Right?
Absolutely, and just the names. Like, you're just like, oh, he was also in Gone in 60 Seconds. He was also in Sling Blade. He was also in. You're just like, my God, what movie wasn't this guy in?
Wait, Invasion of the Body Snatchers? What?
Yeah.
Uncredited even.
Yeah. Again, what a freaking legacy. I mean, yeah, it's really, really impressive when you look back at the breadth of this career. And then again, to cap that with things like Apocalypse Now and The Godfather and To Kill a Mockingbird, you're like, oh my God. I mean, this is an all-timer, and we are very lucky that we got his legacy to look back on. But holy moly, what an icon. This other one I added just at the last minute because this happened, unfortunately, today and just this afternoon. Eric Dane died today. He was only 53. He had announced last year that he had ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. This was very sad. Obviously, it's tragic when anybody dies. It's very tragic when somebody dies of something so debilitating. And he ties into our world very nicely because of his he was a part in X-Men The Last Stand. He was Jamie Madrox in that, the Multiple Man, the guy who could create copies of himself. But for most people, he's well known for Grey's Anatomy. He was McSteamy for 8 years on that show, which was immensely and continues to be immensely popular. Much beloved for that. And I really thought where he really caught my eye was on Euphoria, the HBO program. He plays really disgusting predator, basically, who is queer, closet queer, and is sleeping with underage people and doing all these nefarious things on the show, and is just. He has some incredible scenes in that 2 seasons that he's on the show. And I understand that he actually was able to film some stuff for the upcoming 3rd season of Euphoria before he passed. So it's nice to know that we'll get a little bit more of his work. But Yeah, really, really sad to, I mean, this is somebody in my age range, so it really, really kind of hits home. It's very sad. Also, I wish I looked like he did at 50-something. God damn, what a handsome man. Holy moly.
Otherwise, he'd be in Hollywood.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got one thing here. I just saw this. Like I said, I was flying through the trailers today, and I saw one for Doctor Who, but it's Doctor Who Sylvester McCoy, which is a Doctor Who that I never watched. Because there was a movie back in the day, and this might have been it. But apparently, this movie was filmed, and then, according to the trailer, they lost the film, but they found it and now rescanned it for Blu-ray and for 4K. So it's a Doctor Who movie coming out soon, but it's like the middle Doctor from the old, like before the current Doctor Who's with Christopher Eccleston, etc. going forward. So
yeah, old Who.
And that brings us to Star Trek Academy Season 1, Episode 7, Ko'Zeine. Which is we find it's what was it called? All World Day or All Worlds Day?
All Worlds.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Thanksgiving Day break, I guess, equivalent, or March break kind of thing.
Yeah, so it sounds like.
And everybody has to go off and do their thing, and I've forgotten the Klingon character's name,
Jaden.
but he's going to go off with his new beau to his planet, and he sees...
Oh, no, they're going to Ibiza.
What?
They're going to Ibiza.
What is that, like a...
That would be a beautiful tropical paradise off the coast of Spain.
Okay.
Where a lot of Europeans go for vacation. And debauchery.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it like one of that place in Jamaica?
Yes, very much. A place where people go, slightly hedonistic kind of place.
Hedonism, that's the one. Hedonism is the thing in Jamaica that people have gone to and not come back the same. I'll tell you about that after the show.
Please do.
But some people actually.
Oh, Lord.
Anyway, and as he's doing that, he sees what's the name of the
Darum
ball guy?
Yeah, Darum.
Darum gets kidnapped and zapped away, and like in sort of like with the what's his name, Rick and Morty kind of portal, and it stays open, and Jaden jumps through because he figures, I better go help this guy, kind of begrudgingly, and so that's it. And then at the same time, we've also got our young guy. I can't remember any of these people's names. Genesis.
Caleb,
yeah. Caleb's struggling to sort of trying to communicate to Tahana, who is now she's now recovering from her coma on Beta Z, and
apparently she's out of her coma, which is nice to know because she seemed pretty messed up at the end of the last episode. Poor Tarima, like ripping out her.
Tarima, that's her name. Yeah. So, like I said, I can't remember their names, but and he keeps writing these letters and then deleting them, which is a pretty common thing with people his age. I know a ton of people. I had a student working for me once who would do like a whole day's worth of work and then delete it before it was time to hand it over to me, and I'm like, dude, you gotta just give me something, But anyway, and Genesis is supposed to go off and do something with her family, and the Chancellor tells her that she's going to promote her or put her name forward for the captain track, right? Yep. Although that's not what she called it, but anyway, that's kind of the setup. Is that the whole thing gets hijacked because now again, they help me with the names here, but two of them end up on the staying behind.
Yeah, Genesis ends up behind with them. Yeah,
and with just Jet Reno and her, which we don't see her partner at all in the episode, but yeah, she's kind of like the only one left around.
Yep.
And there's a lot of four-letter words that we can't use on this podcast in this episode.
there is. I always think that whenever I'm doing my quotes, I'm like, what a great quote. Darn it.
Yeah, and we'll just say poop emoji instead,
That's
right?
That's right.
But, Anyway, because you can imagine, like, these kids, they get up to their antics. But, before we get into that, I guess we should do our elevator pitches. So what have you got for an elevator pitch, Jonathan?
My elevator pitch was, sometimes the quiet parts of Trek are tougher to take than the loud ones.
All right. And then, Jaime, what do you got?
Each of the kids has their own rite of passage with the great expectations from their parents, their cultures, or perhaps even themselves.
Yeah. Mine is, caller, we'll wait.
Yeah.
So I just told you what the whole show was about, except I didn't tell you the big part, right?
Well, there was a few
The
big
goofy
parts.
part. Yeah, a couple of goofy parts.
Yeah. I mean, this was kind of set up as, it looked like it was going to be Caleb behind by himself, and what would Caleb get up to, and then it turns into, Caleb and Genesis kind of bonding, and it simultaneously turns into Jaden and Darum bonding. And both of those seemed like they were maybe more than just bonding.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was some. Yeah, that's the unfortunate part about these kind of shows is like, especially with the two left behind on the station, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's supposedly committed, and
Well, and it's funny because it's a little more overt when you're talking about Darum and Jaden. There definitely have been moments, and there was a moment in not the previous episode, the one before, where they go to the bar, and Jaden is kind of flirting with Kyle, who we find out in this episode is now his boyfriend, and we kind of get the vibe that maybe Darum's a little jealous there because he starts sort of mocking Kyle, and that continues in this episode. And there's definitely seems like, I mean, he's made no bones about it. He says I think the very first episode, he says that his species is pansexual.
Goes both ways.
He says pansexual. Yeah. I think that they're very open to whatever. So that's like right on the record. And obviously Jaden is in a queer relationship in this show now. And so that's always been kind of lingering here. Jaden goes from I'm going to save you to I'm going to stick around because it matters to you to I want to stick around with you because you matter to me. And, it's interesting to see the sort of the romantic tension between those characters who are both very different and also very, their cultures are very different, their personalities are very different, but then there seems to be something that's drawing them to one another, which is really, it's interesting. I mean, we've certainly, my wife sat and watched a chunk of this episode with me, and she said, I don't remember there being much sex on Star Trek.
What?
And I said, that's true to an extent. There's definitely been romance. I don't know that there's been a lot
and there's Captain Kirk not keeping it in his pants.
Well, true, but I mean, we also, we went through a lot more adventures where people had their clothes on than off, I would say, over the years. But we've never had a cast this sort of predominantly young, right?
Well, I mean, again, that's also the age too. Like that's when those juices are flowing.
Well,
right?
exactly right. I mean, we got to the scene where Caleb is sunbathing in the middle of the atrium with his shirt off, and she was just like, "Whoa, that dude is just jacked up." And I was like, "He is." And then she was like, and that girl's attractive, and are they all really hot? And I'm like, that's kind of what the show's doing, yes, is that everybody seems to be young, hot, and full of hormones, and also Star Trek's happening in the background, so...
yeah, Star Trek happens occasionally, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, last week's episode was very Star Trek, so, I mean...
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, going from that to this is like, what happened?
Again, that's why I had for my elevator pitch, like, last week was obviously gut-wrenching. We saw, Bobby die, and actually, Jaime, remind me, I want to circle back because I want to hear what your thoughts are on that episode because unfortunately you were traveling last week. But, last week we had this really epic episode where, they get attacked and there's a betrayal and all the characters are at risk and one of the characters sacrifices himself. And that's all so Star Trek. But so is this. I mean, the whole, what are your motivations? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why do you feel the call to service? Why do you want to be part of Starfleet?
Well, we should sort of also like the part about Darum being kidnapped was it's actually part of a ritual where he's actually betrothed to the future leader of their world, right? And he's to be the consort of hers, right? And run the world with her, right?
Yep.
And this is the sort of the Ponfar from the original series kind of trope where this character has to go, and then, but in the case of Spock, he's just every 7 years he has to do, release his hormones, as you say, but release the Kraken.
Yeah.
But
or the Salat, as the case may be.
Well, and so in this case here, it's kind of like the partner has accelerated the timeline, and he was told he could, Darren was told he could go off and do the Star Trek thing and learn, become a better person or whatever, and try out this Star Trek thing or this Starfleet thing. But eventually he was going to go back to this. This is what he was meant to be, right? Meant to do. But she's pushed that forward. So which basically means that if he marries her, then he can't go back to Starfleet, right? He's going to have to rule the planet with her. And Ko'Zeine here in this case is like the best man, and Jaden, what's his name? Jaden, who has come through the Rick and Morty porthole. Before they try and kill him, he sort of Darren rescues him by saying he's my Ko'Zeine, so he's my stand-in, right, kind of guy, right? And he's supposed to give a speech and wear this goofy clothing and stuff like that, right? So I mean, so that's sort of that story there, right? Where we got, and the conundrum for Darren is, does he really want to do this? And I guess spoilers. Jaden does eventually come back and do his speech, and in his speech he talks about how the impact that Darren has had on the other students and on Starfleet in general, or the Academy in general, right? And the future wife says, clearly you need to go back and do that.
Well, at this point, she's his actual wife, right? Because she says, I want an annulment and I want you to abdicate your role, right?
Exactly. Well, she starts out by getting her parents to abdicate too, right? So short of having dragons, you can sort of see where she's coming from, right?
Yeah. Okay, we've muttered too much. Jaime, I want to know what you thought of this one, and I definitely want to know what you thought of last week's too.
Yeah, for this one, I thought it was a pretty good sort of change of pace on it, right? You kind of get to see the individual characters going through something that doesn't have high stakes. It's kind of the opposite of Come Let's Away, the previous episode, where they're very high stakes. They could all definitely die, and you do have the Vulcan Navari Romulan dude that sacrifices himself to save. And they could have all passed away on the Miyazaki, right, in that training mission that went awry. And so for this one, I thought was kind of interesting to see how you slow the pace down. You put characters together like Jaden and Darren. You have us understand why Darren, weird cocky guy, like what he's all about. We do get to see a little bit more about Genesis in they're hinting much more strongly about her concerns about having the Nepo baby tag on herself and what that means. And then just fun stuff like the warp slug and
that was
Jet
great.
Reno has some good scenes. Talking to Laura after she injured herself on her big toe, and then catching Caleb and Genesis. She's like, oh, I thought I left a pad in here, and oh, I just found a bunch of cadets in some deep poop emoji.
Yeah. In a way that
delivery
only
is
Tig
great.
Notaro can deliver that line too.
Just a great delivery.
Yeah, it was. You're right, Jaime. I think the juxtaposition of the last episode that was so fast paced and so intense, and they, for all we know, I mean, they did kill a character. Now, obviously, not one of the prime Academy members that we've come to enjoy over these past 7 weeks, but they killed off a character that we had come to know and could identify by name. It definitely is a big gear shift to this one to go to a much more, Caleb's trying to process his emotions about his connection with Tarima. Genesis is trying to figure out what's going on, with her career, having known that she may have, falsified her way into the Academy. Darren is trying to reconcile his responsibilities at home versus his passion for what he does at school. We've got Jaden, who's, stumbled into this situation, but is starting to realize that maybe Darren means more to him than he realized when they have their fight. And then he comes back and gives this very, very good speech that, Darren's sort of smiling along, and the Queen looks like she wants to come over and punch him in the face, so yeah, it was I think a really excellent job by the writers to sort of pace these episodes out this way, and it's nice to show that there are lingering effects on these people of, consequences for the events that have happened, and they're all trying to sort of deal with it, and I'm glad when they do that. I will say that's a hallmark that I've enjoyed of new Trek, of sort of everything Discovery forward, is a lot more long-term impact. They certainly did that sometimes in the past in Star Trek, but here we've gotten a really deep look, between Discovery, between Strange New Worlds, this. Even Lower Decks did a good job of, actions have consequences and people don't just fix themselves overnight. Mariner's journey over the course of Lower Decks, for a cartoon that was deliberately poking fun at Star Trek and was meant to make you laugh, her journey of maturity and growth over the course of those seasons is unbelievable for a cartoon that's meant to be about cleaning out the replicators after everybody has a good time in there. It's really been kind of impressive to see how they're able to modernize Trek in this way and have it not just be purely episodic, but also enough that you can just sort of step in and enjoy the episodes too. All right, pew pew pew. Not a big pew 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 episode.
No, just freezing slime, I think, was probably the pew-pewist part.
Yeah, I mean, I had Kyra confronting Darum at the end there, because she was kind of going off. She's like, I want you to be, we're done here. I don't even recognize who that guy was talking about. Why are you even
did
here?
You think she was, in his face about that?
Or I did. I think she was mad.
I thought that was out of love.
No.
Really? Mad. Okay.
I don't think so. I read it as she was, really hurt. Because what she says, I don't even know the person that he was talking about. And that, I think, really hurt her feelings, that for somebody who has said, I love you, and somebody who she seemed to genuinely love, I think she was really hurt that he can be a different person for these other people that seems more like what he would say is himself. I think she was mad.
Yeah, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I thought she was wise. I thought she was seeing the fact that his affections or sense of duty would be divided, right? Because he did feel a little bit let down about. I mean, why would she let him go off and do Star Trek or Starfleet in the first place, right?
Well, I think the idea was that they thought they had more time, so they could do whatever for a while before they had to settle into their responsibilities, right?
Yeah, and her parents were ready to hand or step down.
All right, Jaime, you're tie breaking. What do you think
about which specific?
About whether the Queen Kyra was mad or sad about what happened with Darum at the end when she confronts him and says, I want out.
Boy, it's 50-50 toss up. I lean more towards the sad, but I have to say it's 51-49%, where there's understandable madness about being put in the situation and sorrow for losing him. But I do think she is very much one of those, if you love them, let them go kind of people. Yeah. And I also think she's very, very much like Darren, where he was willing to go through all of this because of honor and duty for his people. She's doing the same, right? She's like, my people can't have this dude here if he's not fully in on it and
committed. Yeah, I mean, I think she was making an executive decision. She was being regal in that sense, and she does say, I'll attempt to do this by myself. She doesn't say I'm going to go off and find myself another guy.
Right.
She says I'm going to run this by myself, even though it was meant to be a role that would run by two people.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Okay. Easter eggs. Did you guys catch much? I didn't find this to be a very Easter egg heavy episode.
It's a tough one because the nature of what they've said in the background. I'm like, does it count to see the Enterprise models? Those are kind of like a set piece. But I reached a little deeper and decided in my mind with one of the Stephen Colbert announcements. I think it was Stephen Colbert was talking about Coach Otani needs to go somewhere, and I have decided in my head that is a reference to LA Dodgers Shohei Otani because it seems really specific.
Yeah, that could be. The only thing I saw was when at one point they were in the end of the episode, they're in the Chancellor's office in Nala's office, and I've noticed that she's got all kinds of knickknacks on her shelf, and I'm sure that if you spent a lot of time, you could find all kinds of Easter eggs in there. But one really stood out to me this episode where she's got a vertical standing copy right above, or right in front of her face in one of the scenes. That's why it jumped out at me, of an old Grateful Dead album. And I was just like, that is an exceedingly random pull to have that. Although I suppose if when in San Francisco, I don't know. But yeah, she's got the cover. I just recognized the cover of one of those 1960s Grateful Dead albums standing up on her shelf behind her. And I was like, all right, figures she might be a deadhead. That makes sense. She doesn't wear shoes. That also checks out.
Yeah. I love the way she packs her suitcase, too.
That was a very funny scene with her and Caleb where he's like, why are you bringing boots? You don't even wear shoes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was one of my quotes, too.
Mm-hmm. The other quote I had separate was Jaden saying, I declare only that it is a good day to die.
That's a great one, yeah.
Going in to attack what he believes are true abductors.
Yes. Yeah, I had a couple of... Did you have any other good quotes? I grabbed a couple of them.
Well, they had the Science Lab Roulette and the Replicator Wampage. I was trying to figure out what Replicator Wampage was, but those are the two games that they play.
Yeah.
And I need to know if I belong on that track, is one of the things that Durham says about his role in future or whatever. And then somebody at one point says the problem... Oh, this is what Genesis says. The problem with following somebody in somebody's footsteps is that they're somebody else's footsteps.
Yeah. Really well put. Yeah, I like that one. A real throwaway line at the beginning of the episode from Jet Reno when she's escorting them out through the transporter. One of the students walks up and she says, Duluth, can I talk you out of that? I thought that was like, why are shots being fired at Duluth? What's going on there? That's mean. And Durham falls.
Is that Ohio or is that?
It's Minnesota, I believe, isn't it?
Minnesota. Oh, okay.
The one from Durham that's shortly thereafter where he says, Klingons on Ibiza. That's a sentence I never I never imagined could exist. And I did like part of Jaden's speech says, if this were a Klingon wedding, Cairo would have now bite Durham on the nose and they would break each other's clavicles. Perhaps skip that part. Yeah. Okay, I have a big question. My big question is, since we have in only one episode seen Kyonians in their real form, when Durham goes out in the first episode and goes out into the cold without a spacesuit, why are none of the Kyonians looking like Kyonians when this is a Kyonian wedding?
Well, he does. Jaden asks him that question, right?
He sort of says, like, I thought your world was underwater, and he says, well, this moon dried up. That's why we have our weddings here. So, are we supposed to assume that their shape-shifting is really just two forms? It's we look like this when we're underwater, we look like this when we're not?
I don't know. Maybe the writers wrote themselves into a corner.
Like, to me, it just seemed kind of strange that, it would be like, I don't know what. Like, what's the analogy? Showing up to your own wedding in blackface? Like, it just seems really weird. Like, like I'm something else. Like showing up with a pair of Vulcan ears or Klingon forehead to your own wedding. Like, I don't know. It just seemed really like. So let me get this straight. You all look like that most of the time, like 98% of the time, and the 2% of the time is like weddings. Like that. It just felt exceedingly weird, and also. Why a tradition like raising your glass like that? It just smacked of what is it they say in
Americana?
Well, no, it reminded me of the line from Star Trek 6 where they're like, inalienable human rights. Of course you'd say it that way, it's a racism. Like, wouldn't they have their own tradition? Can we make up some new traditions for these races? Do they have to raise a glass? Do we have to have these touch points for like stupid viewers who are like, well, how come they're not toasting?
But you have to hear Klingon. You have to hear Klingon, or you have to hear Shakespeare.
The original Klingon. Yeah, right? You got it. You got it.
I think Jonathan gets like, unless a show is specifically about that, like DS9 that shows us what the Bajoran culture is like. I feel like when they show other cultures, there's either this is the same thing as what Earthlings do, but with slightly different, accoutrements, or my God, these people are terrible. Like the dinner that they had to practice for, the other one where they had like the little megaphones and
oh yeah. But that was great. That was so different and original. I admired what they did there, where it's like you're going to have to do this very alien experience. Well. Yeah, if Jaden goes to this planet where they have like completely different culture and rituals, these are an aquatic species, do something else.
Yeah, he does talk about having to put on wet clothes or whatever, and he's pretty cold and things, right?
Can we also talk about So, as punishment for going on the bridge and attempting to steal something and getting busted, so Genesis gets taken off the pre-command track, and they both get 200 hours of basically menial duty, right? They have to do the crummy stuff. At the end of the episode, we see them in one alcove of the hull, and they are what looks to be Swiffering the floors, or either that or they're cleaning up after NBA players when they fall.
I think they're cleaning the holodecks.
I just feel like, is Swiffer duty really the worst they could come up with for students? Like, hey, you're each going to get a
like
Swiffer.
You were saying earlier about having to clean the replicators after I think you meant holodecks after the.
That's right.
People have had their fun in there, right? So
now that's a terrible job. Especially, I'm thinking at Starfleet Academy.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, I think
they have like black lights on the front of their Swiffers?
I think it's the scale, right? Like, think about like Tom Paris, and he was in prison, but it was like just in New Zealand, you know? Maybe he had to break some rocks or something. I forget what he's doing when Janeway encounters him and when she's recruiting him.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly is degrees, but I don't know. Swiffering the floors did not seem like the worst punishment that one could receive. It did not seem like it was high-intensity labor.
Yeah, and well, especially in a society where you have little robots to do all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. I really would have liked it if they could have followed through on one of those. One of the things they were talking about doing, Genesis and Caleb, was taking the dots to go water skiing. Now that I would pay to see.
What are the dots?
The dots are those little robots that they had in the 32nd century that go outside and like fix the ship. They're like the little AI robots that can do all the chores for them.
They like clean the holodeck.
Or Swiffer the floors, you'd think, but yeah.
Yeah, I think you're applying logic now.
I know. Well, if they would just hire me for the writing staff, I could be contributing here as opposed to just nitpicking.
Now, a word from our sponsor. Now, back to the show.
All right.
Shall we move on to the Night of the Seven Kingdoms?
Yes, indeed.
In the name of the Mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Season 1, Episode 5.
Yeah, a banger.
Yeah. Picks up where we left off, right?
Yeah, so this was... this episode was the Battle of Seven, where, you had seven on one side, seven on the other, and... This is one of the most, this reminded me of, Battle of the Bastards. This was one of the most chaotic kind of fight scenes we've ever seen in this, in a Game of Thrones series, right? This was, dirty fighting. This was gritty, mud-spattered, blood-spattered, really kind of, edgy kind of stuff. And it's funny how progressively this series kind of went from, it's this cute story about this guy and this kid, and they make friends, and they're going to go and do this thing. And now it's it got really real in this episode, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And the thing about it is, like you said last week, that so-and-so said he would just fall off his horse and not get up. I mean, falling off your horse doesn't exclude you from being some guy coming up at you with a mace as well, right? Or broadsword. Cause
at least have the sense to stay down if that happens.
Or even a horse coming at you with a horse, right? Because they do that too, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
It was a pretty brutal. I mean, if you think about it, there were no rules. You know what I mean? There's no Queensberry rules here. This is fight to the death, right?
It's fight till submission. I mean, realistically, you were allowed to either force the person to recant or die. Those are the only options, right?
Yeah, well, you could beat the guy to the point where he can't even say yield out loud, right?
Well, it almost happened here.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about two things. So this episode not only served as the battle that it's sort of the big climactic battle of this series for the first season, but also was a flashback episode. And I'm curious as to whether or not you enjoyed and what you thought of the decision to go from Dunk taking a blow to the head to a flashback to sort of what got him here, to then flashing back to the rest of the battle and the climax. Did that storytelling method work for you, and did you enjoy that? And
yeah, so if I had to do an elevator pitch for this particular episode, I would have said 1 step forward, 2 steps back. That seems to be his lot in life, right? Because you get the whole sort of his first sort of girlfriend thing where they're both street urchins and they're trying to get out of the city and raise money, and of course you can never raise enough money to get out of the city, it turns out. and there's this really bad guy that's involved, and the way the girl ends up losing her life, and she's left dying in his arms, and then how that ends, the episode ends, spoilers, is that he's in another position where this one, I think you said he was the future king or whatever.
He was the hand of the king and the crown prince. Yeah.
So he was like the highest guy, and he had said, I'm going to take you under my wing, and I think you're an honorable person. And even after the battle, he says, I'm going to make you a knight, and you're going to be one of my guys, whatever. And then he ends up dying in Dunk's arms too. So it's kind of like that. I think that was this whole story of this episode, was about how doesn't matter how far out of the gutter Dunk climbs, he can never really get out of it.
Yeah, that's pretty astute. Jaime, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a good way for us to see, Dunk's motivations and how he got to where he's at. Right, we see, how I forget the knight's name,
Sir Arlen
Pennytree, who saves him, and it helps us understand the kind of, like, Dunk isn't that skillful. He has, strength as his sort of main thing, and it's a strength from him having to just tank, and not NBA style tanking, kiddos. No, not the intentionally losing. This is the refuse to lose MMORPG style tanking and just taking the hits like crazy and not giving up. I saw some folks online who were upset. They were like, "Oh, I wanted to see this battle, blah blah blah." I was like, "Bro, like, it's from his point of view."
Yep.
And he got knocked out.
Yep.
Right. And you saw from the inside, like, you can't see nothing with that 2-inch strip of openness on your helmet.
Yeah, and he went straight down into a mud puddle. Like, he didn't see anything. He's knocked out and he's face down in the mud. Yeah, I was curious. I think I thought it worked really well. And I will say, having read the book, that the flashback sequence is not something that's in the book. The fight just takes place as a fight. So we don't get that look back. But I do think it really adds something to both the emotional heft of where he is, and I think it also speaks to, we knew from earlier in the story that, Sir Arlen found him in the streets of Flea Bottom. He says that, and he says, I had a rough life. Here we get to see it, and it really, I think, comes back around when you get to the part where, at the end, when he does get back up, when he has that last fight with Arian, Arian knocks him out, and Arian thinks he's won, and they're about to blow the horn, and he gets back up, and he just beats the tar out of Arian. And I think the idea is that he sort of switches from trying to be somebody he isn't, which is the noble, Sir Duncan the Tall, which we'll get into because he's not really. And the guy who beats the crap out of Arian at the end of this episode is not Sir Duncan the Tall. That's Dunk, the kid from Flea Bottom. It's full circle because he's not fighting like a knight. He's fighting like a scrappy kid who had to survive on the streets of Flea Bottom. When he starts fighting, when he comes back and takes Arian on at the end there, he's fighting with every bit of just brute force savagery and, street fighting that he can do, and he wins. But I think it's so poignant that they show you, like, this is who this kid was. This is who this kid really is. And yeah, he's playing at night, but he's a tough as rocks kid from the streets of Flea Bottom. And when it comes down to it, he doesn't have to win like a knight. He can win like a kid who knows how to fight. I thought that was really spectacular. And it really, like, I've seen I saw this week that they, like, right now it's got like a 9.8 rating. This is one of the highest rated episodes of Game of Thrones across all series ever. And the more I thought about that, the poignance of showing us that mid-battle, at first I was like, well, that's kind of weird because there is an intensity to the battle, and then to digress into that, I wasn't sure if I liked it. And the more that I've now watched it twice, the more I watched it and I sort of processed, they're showing us that to establish that he's not just trying to play at night, that he is also this kid who's seen some horrible stuff and could connect to that pain and that loss, and then just channel it into beating the tar out of Arian at the end there. Arian's a mess at the end of this. I just thought that was so well done, like so unbelievably well done storytelling.
Yeah, I mean the way he like even after he doesn't get found in Flea Bottom. He's saved by the knight because he kicks the crap out of the people who are taking advantage of him. But then he has to follow him.
Yeah.
And starve and almost like lose his own life trying to follow this knight, right? And it's the only path out of Flea Bottom is because the two of them raise enough money and they go to buy passage and they're told the price has gone up, right? Which is your typical way of keeping those kind of people down, right?
Exactly.
Because you keep gaslighting them, I think is the term, is right. You just keep putting more hurdles in front of them, and that's what this, to me, that's what the flashback was about how he has to keep going even though there's so much opposition to getting him out of that gutter.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And I think that's what he's supposed to realize in that moment when he gets up is like, I got to stop pretending to be someone I'm not. I got to be who I am. And I had to survive a whole bunch of stuff to get to this point, and I'm not losing now.
Yeah, but I mean, and where the episode ends is, he's got this glimmer of hope again, and
the rug pulled right out from under him.
The price gets raised again. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So again, the benefit of having read the story, I knew what fate beheld Baelor. I didn't know how they were going to show it on the show. But if you go back and you watch the show, the blow that seemingly is the one that ends up killing Baelor is because at one point near the end of the fight where Dunk is getting the upper hand and wailing on Arian, Maekar, who is Arian's father and Baelor's brother, is trying to get over there to stop Dunk, to save his son. And he reaches out with his weapon and he just sort of wildly flings it to try and get everyone away from him so that he can get to Dunk and save Arian. And he whacks the king or the crown prince right in the back of the head. How did it impact you when it's became apparent and then became really apparent that Baelor was gone? Were you guys shocked, or like what was your reaction in the moment? I was shocked reading the book. I was like, "Oh my god, they killed this guy!"
Really? Okay. Yeah. When he takes off the helmet or whatever.
Well, yeah. I mean, in the book, they literally describe what his brain looked like. I mean, it's graphic in the way that George writes, and you're just like, "Oh my god!" Like he knocked the back of his brother's head off.
Yeah, I found it pretty shocking as well. It was interesting that he kind of makes some sense. It's like, oh, like the visor's cracked. It's like, well, you're not wearing a visor anymore, but like, okay, sure. Like you got your bell rung, but then you see just how bad he got this bell rung. That's pretty shocking.
Yeah. And in typical Game of Thrones fashion, they pan around and you see the hole in the back of his head and you're like, uh-oh. Yeah. I mean, I was blown away in the story, just being like, because they do present this guy as, a good man, a man of honor, and a man who would be a good king. And it really does. This is a moment that changes the course of history for Westeros, because this guy was going to be the king. Everyone said he had the temperance for it. And just like that, defending a hedge knight against his own family, he's gone. Yeah, I mean, I thought this was outstanding television, as Game of Thrones and the Game of Thrones series tend to be, not always, but tend to be. But yeah, I was really impressed by this episode, and I think it definitely deserves its laurels, because this was really good. One more to go. Where do they go from here?
Yes, Bob. One more episode?
One more episode, and then we're off for a year. Apparently, they are currently filming season 2. They just started filming season 2, and they're going to.
So are they doing the other books or whatever?
They're doing the other 2 novellas, and apparently they have committed to doing them annually. So we're going to get, in the same way that we are currently getting Daredevil once a year, we are going to get a Night of the Seven Kingdoms every year for the next few years. Now, there are only 3 written novellas, although George says he's writing more. Ha 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 ha. But yeah, so at least for the next couple of years, we're going to get more Dunk and Egg and some pretty cool stories.
So we're going to go through the Spocky results now that we've got the Season 9 2025 Spocky Awards. Probably 2025 because it's last year, right? Yeah, so we'll each take a turn. I mean, and we can talk about how things turned out and how we thought they should turn out. But yeah, like last year, we had enough responses here to get a good response. So I'll do the best movie first of all, sci-fi fantasy. Mickey 17 basically was the clear winner in this particular case, but for second place we had a tie between Predator Badlands, and which is our favorite show apparently, or movie, Tron Ares, and the third one is 28 Years Later. Interesting.
I thought it was really interesting that we had 8 movies that we narrowed the list down, and 6 of them got votes. Like, I think to me that speaks to it was not a yes, Mickey 17 won of our votes, but it was not a landslide, and there was a lot of people with different opinions on what we had.
Well, and also like Begonia is in there, and I don't think Jaime, you haven't seen Begonia?
I've not seen Begonia yet. No, it's on the list.
Yeah, nor have I.
Actually,
it's
Begonia got 2 votes actually, because somebody did a write-in. I saw Begonia, so that one by default. Somebody said I started 28 years later. That's probably Tammy. It sounds like a Tammy thing. So it's actually a 4-way split for second place.
So I think as part of this, I'd like to know how we each voted too, because I'm curious as to where this aligned for us. What did you guys vote for Best Picture? Do you remember?
I don't remember. Well, actually, I think I can actually look at individial people here. Let me see.
I guess I didn't check the box that says "send yourself."
Actually, no. I can dig into each.
Well, I can start by saying I did vote for Mickey 17. I do.
I can look for individuals. Okay, so let's see. Jaime, you voted for Mickey 17 as well.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure.
And what did you vote for, Tim?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure that's. Well, let me just give a head to myself here. I'm Mickey 17, as well. So the 3 of us.
All right. Internal bias wins. Woo! Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it in the nomination. It was not exactly the massive year for movies, but I think it's interesting that Mickey 17 stood out for all of us against, Thunderbolts, Running Man, Superman. Like, there's some good stuff in here. But I mean, I don't think that. I think that movie's going to age well. I think a lot of people were just like, well, this is Bong Joon-ho's follow-up to Parasite. I think a lot of people were kind of looking for something else. It is obviously a little bit of a dark comedy element to it. So was Parasite, for that matter. But I don't know that it really resonated, and I don't know that enough people saw it. I have a feeling this one's going to age really well. I think people are going to be looking at
Mickey 17.
I think people are going to be watching Mickey 17 years from now and be like, actually, that movie's really solid. Because I don't think it got the laurels that it deserved.
Yeah, it was funny. It was very Monty Python Brazil like as well.
And it's honestly like I am not a huge Robert Pattinson fan. I've only seen him in a handful of things. I've never watched any of the Twilight films. I've seen him obviously when he was younger in the Harry Potter films. It didn't really stand out to me there. I'd seen him as Batman, and I thought he was fine, but I didn't think he was like home run. But I thought he was terrific in this. So yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him in a couple of other sci-fi movies where he's not, not the Superman, as it were, right? Mm-hmm. Right, who wants to take on Best TV Show?
Well, I would like to gush about the winner a little bit if I could.
Could you? Sure, go ahead.
So this one for Best TV Show Sci-Fi Fantasy, there was a runaway winner on this one, and it's not surprising to me, and I doubt it's surprising to the two of you. Andor season 2 won with nearly 2/3 of the vote. The next closest, I guess, after that would have been Severance season 2, which I agree is also very good. But I mean, I think there was no larger slam dunk in this field in this entire competition than Andor season 2. I mean, that was just one of the most exceptional pieces of any media I think I've ever seen. So well made. Unbelievably acted, unbelievably made, and so very, very prescient, and
there's no more
of the moment. And maybe that's what makes it so sweet, is that it's just a perfect thing that exists. Just truly one of the most extraordinary seasons of television ever made. And I don't know how. I don't know how it'll ever be topped in Star Wars, and I don't know how it'll be topped in sci-fi. It is exceptional. It is truly, truly magnificent. I mean, apparently cost a fortune, so sure, but oh my God, it deserves everything that it gets, and it deserves a bunch of stuff it didn't get. So I'm glad that it gets to walk away with the Spockie Award for Best TV Show, because that is just the least it deserves.
Sure, and there's a 3-way tie for third place with Pluribus Foundation, and somebody did a write-in called Eternaut.
You're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
No idea. I don't know what that is.
All right, we're going to have to look that one up.
But you know what? Yeah, there was a couple of European people who entered. Maybe it was the translation.
Yeah.
All right, and then you're on to the best Star Trek series.
I think you get to do the next two because the first one is pretty ridiculous.
So well, this is pretty fun. It's yeah. It was only one answer here, but apparently people had some fun with the write-ins.
Best Star Trek series at 72.7%, the largest win so far, as Star Trek Strange New World Season 3. And then it looks like of the main choices, Picard, Lower Decks, and TNG, they're evenly split at 9.1%.
Well, no, one of them, the red one is Next Generation and Picard. So that's like what's that guy who used to do the car thing? The guy who had the lemonade car thing. You know, he was Ralph Nader.
Yeah,
that's the Ralph Nader one.
Yes, that's right.
Because it splits the vote between Next Generation and Picard, and neither one of them win because of that.
I don't think they were going to win against the one new Star Trek show that aired last year. So
true, that's true.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we did allow write-ins, right?
That's true.
I shouldn't say that. There's two TNGs, so it's technically Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Lower Decks would be second, and then TNG would split half of one vote and all of the other votes.
All right, I think we've talked way too much about this category that really is about one thing.
But it would be what 9 and half of 9 is 4.5, so 13.5%. Yeah, voted for TNG. All right, Jaime, what's best new TV show?
You have best new TV show at 66.7%. That would be Pluribus.
Yeah.
And then it looks like number 2 is Alien Earth, according to this color scheme. And then a tie for third, and that looks like it's Daredevil Born Again, and maybe I have seen none of these.
Yes,
I've seen 0 of these.
Yeah, so.
Harsh.
Like I said, Tammy is voting, so this is probably a Tammy.
I forgot to ask when we did the best TV show, how you guys voted. I voted obviously Andor. I think given the vote splits, I would guess that you did both as well. But
yeah, Andor and Pluribus.
I'd have to dig into the individual results. So let's see. This is me. I voted for what TV show is this one?
So this would be best TV show. So this was
I voted for Pluribus.
No. So for the one before the actual best TV show, and then we'll do best new as well. But
wait, best TV shows like there was only one. Oh, TV show. Okay, sorry. I think I voted for Andor.
Yeah, I voted for Andor.
And Jaime voted. Jaime went first, so he voted for. Ooh, Jaime voted for. No, wait a minute.
I thought I voted
for TV show. No, yeah, Andor and Pluribus were his two votes.
Yeah, and those are mine too.
Categories.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know, Tim. What was yours for best new TV show? Is it Pluribus as well?
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
So we're pretty on brand here for the three of us. Strictly agreeing. I want us to have a fight over something. We haven't got there yet.
Oh, okay. Oh, we will. We could have a fight over whether we let Tammy vote next year.
Banned. You're banned.
All right, this one's going to be interesting. So, is this me?
Best actor. That's you.
Up?
Yep.
Best actor. Okay, it almost was a tie between Diego Luna for Andor season 2 or Stellan Skarsgård for Andor season 2. So Andor's kicking butt here in terms of popularity. So that was basically so 33% went to Diego Luna, and then 25% went to Stellan Skarsgård. And then we have the rest of the pack is Adam Scott, Severance, Ethan Peck, Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, Season 3, Babu Chise from Alien Earth.
Yep.
Who are these people? You're making them up now. That's got to be Tammy. And then Tramel Tillman.
Does she even watch television before she does these?
Well, it's funny because she doesn't have any. She watches stuff, but I tell famously, I've been telling her to watch movies and stuff like that for years.
Yeah, I remember the Firefly.
It took me. Well, not just it was Firefly. It took me forever, and then she finally saw it, and she said, "Oh my god, I can't believe it!" You know. Like, well, not like we didn't try and tell you. And then, of course, I have to let her know who's passed away because she always finds out about 6 months later. So I'll get a message from her going, "Did Robert Duvall die?" You know, yeah. After this show's over, I'll go into Discord and say, "By the way, Robert Duvall died." Anyways, Anyway, so over to you for Best Actress. Do you need,
no. I want to know who voted for what. Who did you guys?
who of us?
Who are our votes for Best Actor for the movies and TV?
So Jaime Lopez
for
Jr.
movies, you said?
No, it's movies and TV. It's both because we decided to merge those a few years back because there was just never enough.
Oh yeah.
So Jaime the Traitor voted for Stellan Skarsgård.
Okay, that's a fair vote.
Was I the deciding vote? Is that why?
I don't know.
Diego Luna didn't.
I'd have to dig into the records, but we told people we wouldn't.
Yeah, we're not going to reveal other people's votes, just ours.
Wait a minute.
Except for
I had to write
except
it,
for Tim.
and it didn't. I had to write it, and it didn't work for me.
Oh,
I put. That was Best Actor. Sorry. What am I looking for?
Best Actor.
For Best Actor. Really? Did I vote for him?
Who'd you vote for?
I don't remember voting for him.
Controversy at this year's Spockies, folks. PricewaterhouseCoopers are here.
Babo Kise, is that who
Babo
you said?
Kise, yeah.
That's who I voted for. Interesting.
I thought he was fantastic, but I voted Diego Luna, but I think this was one of the toughest categories. Not as tough as the next one, but I thought this was a tough category.
All right. So back to I have to go to responses. Because you got to remember, I can see the questions too. Oh, wait, no, I'm individual. I have to go to summary. There we go. Summary. Okay.
So I might need your help with this one, Tim, because there's 2 purples, and I can only see 1 purple in my results here.
So are we talking about which?
This is Best Actress, Movies, TV, Sci-Fi, Fantasy. I see 2 purples, but I only see 1 purple in the code on the side here.
Who do you think won?
I don't know who's missing from this list.
Well, Rhea.
You know who's missing from this list is Genevieve O'Reilly.
No, she's on page 2.
Okay, cool. I can't see page 2.
I know you can't. That's why I sent you. That's why I said I have the ability to dig in and make up stuff if I want. But anyway, I'll help you out here. The big purple is Rhea Seehorn.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
makes sense.
And then Elizabeth Dalu is the small purple.
Okay.
Wedge.
So the winner is
Rhea Seehorn.
Rhea Seehorn. Okay, good. Yeah.
And then it's a 3-way split with Genevieve O'Reilly.
Yep.
Rebecca Ferguson from Silo.
Okay.
And Elizabeth Dalu from Andor.
Yeah.
And then the other votes are Denise Gooch, who I voted for.
Oh, Denise Goff. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I have a friend who pronounces it Gooch, so I'm going to go with that. Adriana Arona from Andor. That's the girlfriend, right? And then Britt Lauer from season 2.
I mean, this was a murderer's row of, like, everybody here was amazing. So I don't think there was a bad vote. I voted for Genevieve O'Reilly. I thought she was probably my favorite performance of last year. That the episode where she delivers the speech and has the getaway and stuff was just, that is just television at its best. So that's why she got my vote. But I loved Pluribus, and I talked about it on the show. I'm a massive Rhea Seehorn fan. I think she was the most underrated part of Better Call Saul, and I suspect she will be in this category for years to come.
That's who Jaime voted for too, as well, by the way.
Nice. Jaime, most anticipated movie of 2026. This is a good one.
I'm thinking that is Project Hail Mary, given the color.
It is for sure. Yeah.
30.8%. And then runner-up is Mandalorian and Grogu.
Interesting.
Correct.
Which is probably what I voted for. I think I voted for Mandalorian and Grogu out of this.
But all of them are going to appear in the third one, which is Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah. I honestly, I was the one I think I voted for Project Hail Mary as well, but I'm kind of surprised. I thought more of our audience would vote for Avengers Doomsday. I think it might speak to sort of where people are at with the Marvel stuff right now, that I think a few years back, anything Marvel would have been the steamroller, and now what is shaping up to be, as you say, like, you know, everybody in the kitchen sink are going to be in Avengers Doomsday, and people are like, okay.
But Dune Part 3 also stole some votes from Avengers potentially, right? Because that split so that's tied for third place for those of you transporting at home, and then fourth place would be Godzilla and Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping.
Mm-hmm. No votes for Masters of the Universe? What?
No, I know. Was it even in? Did we cut that one?
No, it was on the list, and so was Disclosure Day, the new Steven Spielberg movie, which again is a pretty, there was a time when if you said Steven Spielberg is doing a sci-fi movie, that would have been like just the biggest thing to come along, and now it doesn't even get a single vote.
I have 2 letters for you. AI.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough. Well said.
I did enjoy that movie, though, but yeah.
All right. So, what's our most anticipated TV show of 2026?
What do you think the most anticipated TV show?
I can cheat. It's right here in front of me.
It's Star Wars Maul, Shadow Lord Season 1.
Crazy.
25% of the vote. And then splitting for second place is Star Trek Strange New World Season 4, which is good for the listeners of this podcast.
Yes, we're glad you're interested in that one.
And Invincible Season 4. And then we have a 4-way split for the next position, which is Lanterns Season 1. Was that even on the list? Yep. Okay. Wonder Man Season 1. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Somebody voted for that one. And then Blade Runner 2029. 29, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And House of Dragon Season 3.
This is another one that's really interesting. Like, we've got, so many different people voting for different things. Again, I think this is a pretty loaded category. It seems like there's some really good TV coming up this year, but it's interesting that so many people had so many different views on this.
Yeah.
Streaming service, best streaming service 2025. I can't read this. What does it say? No, it can't possibly be Apple TV.
Apple TV Plus, and it says Apple TV Plus on the form, but that can't be right.
Yeah. How so? That's 54% of the vote went to Apple TV. Second place was a distant second place, and that was Disney Plus Hulu, and then a few votes for Paramount Plus. For Pluto got a vote, which is,
and Ralph Nader said they're all good and bad in parentheses,
and Amazon Prime, and So
somebody voted for Criterion Channel.
Okay, fair enough.
Somebody voted for Paramount Plus. And Amazon Prime. Yeah, but the one, the purple wedge that's over at 2 o'clock is they're all good. So that's a kind of a wasted vote.
Yeah. Okay, so how do we account for this? I mean, sure. So Severance, Pluribus, Silo. I mean,
well, Pluribus, Severance, probably Silo for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess.
And Foundation. I mean, they do kind of kick butt on sci-fi and fantasy.
Monster and Legends thing is on there.
That's true. Monarch is there.
Monarch, and what else? There's a bunch of sci-fis that are on Apple TV.
Yeah, and we've said it before. Like,
but you're right though. Disney does tend to have a lot of better stuff.
Well, and you'd think that people it might be more ubiquitous. Like, I think we've kind of joked over the years that but who really has Apple TV? But I think maybe it's our audience, but also I think. Maybe Apple TV is finally having a bit of a breakthrough, a critical mass of just enough good content that people are spending the money on it now. Because, I mean, we just listed off 5 shows that are all pretty great in their own ways. That's. Can you name any other network that produced 5 great sci-fi fantasy shows last year? Maybe HBO didn't. They had a couple, but not that many. Disney had more content, but did it have better content? Maybe not.
Yeah, and Netflix. Well, Netflix isn't even on this list, right? So Paramount Plus, obviously for Star Trek, but yeah, I was surprised that Criterion got it to vote, even though I put it in.
Yeah, there. It didn't get a single vote across this entire thing. Was Netflix, Stranger Things, Netflix, any of that. Yeah. None of that got any votes, which again is
Pluto, Tubi.
Yeah. Interesting. I always again. It's kind of a vanity project. We like to have people weigh in on this stuff, but I'm always curious. I always find it interesting to see, sort of what the audience is into.
Well, every other question on this thing has the votes have been split. This is the only one where more than 50% of the people voted for one thing.
Yeah, true.
Right, except for the first one,
TV show and
best TV show. Yeah, that was the other one that got more than 50%.
Yeah, and best new TV show
for Andor
too as well.
Yeah, Pluribus and Andor. So those are the clear winners this year.
Yeah, so if you can take anything away from this exercise, it's that it was a not so great but good year for movies, an incredible year for TV, and an incredible year for actresses. And if you don't have Apple TV, you probably should.
Yeah. And then, Jaime, you want to do the analysis? And you like to do the analysis stuff, so why don't you give us your analysis of the streaming services that all of us use, or some of us use.
Yeah, so the neck and neck tie goes to Netflix and Disney Plus / Hulu. So even though we just poop emoji'd all over Netflix, they still are tied for number one here of like...
But it's not 100% of the vote though, right?
It's not. And it would make sense that, you know, we decided to put Disney Plus Hulu together as like that general combo that people tend to have. It's kind of hard to split them apart, especially since Disney's pushing them together and ESPN Plus as well. But if you have indoor plumbing, you probably have Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Like that seems to be the rule.
Yeah.
Amazon Prime, I think, is another one that like I think if we really picked at this, do you have it just for the video, or do you have Prime for all of the services it provides?
Yeah, the shipping and stuff. Yeah.
So the real sort of like interesting is that tied at number 2 is Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. So I think what we were just saying here, people are figuring it out. Right, so we're talking 84% or 84.6% for the leaders, the gold medalists that are tied, and then the silver medalists are 76.9% tied. So that's really, really close. And then Paramount Plus pulling up third at 61.5%. Kind of makes sense, especially given our audience. I think also given our audience, Crave Max, interesting combo there.
Well, Crave Max is an interesting one because Crave Max has got that vote, and then HBO's further down, which is similar, and then All the Things is all there. So if you add 2 more votes to Crave Max, which is basically what that is, you're up to 7. So it does kind of slide into, you know, 4th place there. But interesting that it is that low, all things being equal. I mean, HBO is a pretty well-known boutique brand, and Crave is pretty ubiquitous here in Canada, but not clearly enough to make the top of the list.
Right. Yeah. Well, it also splits the demographic. I mean, if you look at, I mean, I don't know, I haven't done the demographic on where people are that voted for this, but like if you look at our podcast results, like a good close to 50% of our audience is US, and the rest are split between UK and Canada and other places, right? So the US is going to weigh heavy into this, which is why Crave would Crave itself wouldn't get a lot of good votes, right? But I don't know where does Max fit into the formula now? I forget where they are. But
well, Max like is HBO Max again.
So we get in Canada, our Crave is essentially HBO and just that, right? Isn't it?
Well, it's Crave Originals plus it's HBO. So we get
but I'm sure some of those Crave Originals are on other channels, right?
Not
in the States.
I mean, so it functions.
They don't get Canada Shore. What?
Well, but then we have shows that we export there, like a Heated Rivalry, which is one of the biggest shows of the year, is a Crave original production that was licensed to HBO and has become a massive hit in the United States. That's a Canadian show. Shoresy is really popular on HBO Max, and that's a Crave original show. So there are things that break through that are Canadian productions, particularly because the cost to produce is so low here, and the value on purchase for things like HBO to just throw it up on their service and see how it hits is very high. So Crave is certainly not producing the caliber of television that HBO is, but it throws out a winner from time to time, including some pretty big winners from time to time. So
Dave Foley, the Kids in the Hall, was on Q today on CBC, and Garvia Bailey asked him what he thought of Heated Rivalry, and he said, "I was glad to see really attractive men finally getting a break."
Yeah. Yes. It's a hard life.
All right, on that note, I guess we're done with the Spockies for yet another year. Thanks for voting for it, everybody. I can see all the people who voted here on the list, and I'm going to keep that quiet to myself because I promised I would. Although I guess you guys could see the top of the list on your PDF that I printed out.
All right, so for the right amount of money, Jaime and I will not make this public.
Yeah, that's true. This is the I like what Jimmy Kimmel has decided to, and he's trademarked this. He's now no longer calling it the list he's talking about. He's decided that since Trump wants his name on everything, he's calling it the Trump Epstein list.
Thanks. That's well done. Well done.
So this is the Trump Spockies list. If you don't want us to relieve it,
if you don't want your name revealed.
Yeah.
We're going to need some hush money over here to sponsor podcast.
All right. Well, on that happy note, let's move over to our watch list. And Jaime, you're up first.
Yeah. I'm going to recommend here Iron Lung, but I'm going to recommend it with caveats. So you have to understand some of the stuff that went into this. So Iron Lung is the most recent successful independent film. Now, I did put the Rotten Tomatoes here so you can see kind of like there's a very big split. Critics think, 61%. The audience says 88%. You may say, why is that? Well, let me also tell you some more about this. So this is a movie created by Markiplier, Mark Fishbach, who is a longtime YouTube streamer. So he's an overnight success with his movie after 10 years of streaming on YouTube. And he put together, I think 3-4 million of his own money and went straight to movie theaters, so not using a distributor, and has this sci-fi film make 46 million worldwide. I think a large part of that is he has built an audience, and I would say the film itself is very enjoyable you would see it in an independent film festival kind of way, right? So low budget, but they use the budget pretty well. Basic concept is it's a post-apocalyptic future. Humanity is looking for resources. They have found this weird sort of ocean of blood-covered moon that they send submarines with, convicts in there to try to retrieve stuff and look for missing stuff. And it's pretty fascinating. I think the meta around this is, my significant other and I, we went to the movie theater and we thought we were easily double the age of everyone in the audience until the movie ended and we saw, a couple who were our age, and they were there because they had their teenage kids with them. So I think they were the chaperones. So it was kind of fascinating to be involved in this. I'll be honest, I don't know that I would have gone independently to just go see this movie. I saw this partially because of the spectacle. So with all those caveats, that's how I'm suggesting it. You can be part of the spectacle and help this raise, even more money if you'd like. You can go into the movie theater like I did and see the Melania popcorn buckets just collecting dust.
Are there such a thing?
I really am regretting maybe not purchasing one, but not going over it and then just swiping my finger of the dust and then taking a picture is what I should have done. Realistically,
they're really collecting dust. Really, that's cool.
Yeah. And it's crazy because this Iron Lung is based on the independent video game of the same name, and I've watched the half an hour Markiplier episode. It is a learning how to use Unity, the video game development platform kind of game. It's very, very simple, very moody. It ends in more or less the same way the movie does, but they've just like House of the Dragon, they've filled in more details and more plot around the basics of the story.
So other than the spectacle, do you recommend this movie?
I recommend this in the SIFF, which is the Seattle Independent Film Festival, or the TIFF I'm aware of in Toronto. You would go see movies there that you would.
Oh, right. That may never see the light of day.
Yeah. If it was this or Avengers Doomsday, I'm like, dude, go see Doomsday, right? If it was this or, pick a bunch of other things, you're choosing it in a film festival sort of way. Mm-hmm.
All right. Hit us, John.
Well, in the fine tradition of watching things after Tim's watched them.
And Jaime. And talking about this for the last 3 weeks. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll just throw my 2 cents in on Predator Badlands.
I did rewatch it, by the way. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So my relationship with the Predator movies is up and down. I've enjoyed bits, but I can't say I love the franchise. But I did want to take a chance on Badlands because I just thought the vibe was a little different. And obviously it had gotten recommendations from Spockies. So I thought, I'll give it a try. It popped up on Disney Plus last week. So I popped it in there. And I will say it didn't grab me off the hop. I found the first probably 15 minutes of the movie, I was not entirely sure I was going to make it through the whole thing, or at least that I might have just, started playing on my phone or something. I found the part at the beginning where they're just kind of introducing the character and they're all speaking in Huttese or whatever the hell they're speaking. I did not love that at all. I found the setup really slow. It didn't click until he gets to the planet and then he hooks up with, the Wayland Yutani synth. And from there on, I was kind of way more interested, because what made this movie for me was the two different types of characters, one sort of perpetually optimistic, one kind of, fatalistic, the whole sort of, opposites. And, it had some great action in it. And if you like the pew-pews, you're going to definitely get your money's worth. But for me, yeah, what really made it was the yin yang of the two protagonists. And it really kind of clicked into gear for me there. So I enjoyed it from there on, and I definitely found myself investing a little more from there. And it obviously, it does leave the door open for future with exploring these characters, and I'm curious to see if they do that, because I think Predator, having watched a few of the past few Predator things, it feels like they've been kind of searching for something like this, and this is the first time that it kind of clicked. And I wonder if there's more to be told starring these particular Predator characters, as opposed to just kind of throwing Predator stories against the wall to see what finally sticks. So, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I watched it again, and you're right. I'd forgotten. I saw it in the theater in IMAX on the day it came out, and so I'd forgotten about the sort of first part with the father and the brother and so on and so forth. And yeah, even going back through that was, a bit trying, but I see what you're saying. And it kind of, the pace was a bit different, because, first time around I was going based on what I'd seen on the trailer, right? And so the story kind of progressed, but I found some of the parts were a little slower than I'd remembered. It was good.
Yeah. Yep.
It does blow up real good.
Yeah, I mean, if you're coming into it...
I love the little joke at the end, too.
Yeah. If you're coming to it for the pew-pews, you will not be disappointed. If you're coming to it for, a lot more than that, your mileage may vary. But I did actually really enjoy the character relationships and stuff like that a little more than I was kind of expecting for a Predator movie. It was probably even more character development from the original one. So, get to the chopper. It was better than that, as far as I'm not saying it's a better movie than Predator. I'm just saying it had more of that kind of thing.
I must say, I like the kind of the way the first Predator in the first two movies appears, because he's kind of like the shark in Jaws. You don't really see much of him, right?
Yeah.
And it's not until I think the second one with Danny Glover, where he goes and finds out that they're actually coming here to hunt, right? Yeah. But and the last movie that they did was called Predators, I think, and that's it's kind of like they took Terminator and tried to, they put Glenn Powell in it, and they tried to have that whole sort of like, you're the one and they're after you for a specific reason kind of plot line, right? It was a good movie, but it was a bit tiring. Compared to this was hands down much better movie.
Yeah. Yep. Next up, I've got a book recommendation, graphic novel called Dr. Worthless. I think I had talked about this, maybe that it was coming. So this is a book. It was written by Harold Schechter and illustrated by Eric Powell. For comic fans, Eric Powell, best known for his ongoing series, The Goon, which is on its surface a little bit simplistic. It's about, this sort of 1930s goon who battles monsters and stuff like that, but it's lavishly illustrated and actually extremely emotional and poignant. These two have teamed up previously. They did a book 2 years ago about Ed Gein, who is a name that people may know more now because they did a Netflix series about him recently. Ed Gein is one of the most infamous serial killers in the United States, famously the basis for Leatherface and for Psycho, for a lot of the serial killer kind of tropes. He was the guy who killed women and made suits out of their skin, made furniture out of their bones and stuff, really dark stuff. This book is not nearly that dark, although it definitely goes to some dark places. It's an exploration about Dr. Wortham, who is the doctors. Dr. Frederick Wertham was a psychologist, and he was working in the early part of the 20th century, and he was studying kind of abnormal psychology and, pioneering some work. But he was also a very sort of self-promotionary kind of person. So he was interested in not just doing great work, but he wanted a lot of credit. He was really kind of this person who was seeking out a lot of fame for his work and acclaim for his work. And the story basically tells how he sort of worked his way and learned his way through all this stuff and got fascinated by the concept of the way that pop culture influences people's psychology. Now, obviously, here in the 21st century, we've got lots of experience with people who have, seen things and emulated things. We've seen people go down very dark paths on some of these, different things. So, he was studying these things firsthand, working in mental hospitals, back in the day, and, people who had extreme, mental unhealthiness, who were, committing crimes and stuff like that. He got interested in how pop culture was affecting it because people would say, oh, I read this, I read this horror book, I read this, I read that. And he got interested in the subject of how comic books were affecting the psychology of children, and went on to write a very infamous book in the 1950s called The Seduction of the Innocent, which was an indictment of comic books. And it helped turn him from somebody who was well known in his field and had a modicum of notoriety to someone who was, telling his story to anyone who would listen, published this book, and it convinced a lot of parents to take their kids' comic book collections and throw them into bonfires, because he was concerned about what, true crime books and horror books and, fantasy books were doing to the mental health of children. So these two take a really hard look at who Dr. Wertham is, how he sort of got to that point, and then explored that period in his life where he was taking aim at comic books and the consequences of that. As somebody who is a lifelong comic fan, I've known about Dr. Wertham's work for years. This is the first time somebody's actually done this kind of sort of deep dive biographical work on him, and it was really fascinating to. They went in, they got archives, they got his letters, they got all this stuff. So a lot of this stuff is verbatim, like his words. The dates are correct. They really kind of dove deep into it and then told this graphic story that is not light on words. Like there's a lot of reading in it for a graphic novel, but really kind of explores how somebody can warp a lot of people's perspectives on things based on their personal point of view, which that is certainly very relevant in our current society. But he's also, Frederick Wertham is probably more than anyone responsible for the scarcity of pre-1960s comic books. More comic books were destroyed by Frederick Wertham's inspiration of people with a certain mindset of literally having bonfires for comic books back in the day. The war effort certainly took its toll on comic books, there's no doubt. In World War II, they were recycling those books because they needed the paper. But the next most caused thing after that was Frederick Wertham telling people that comic books were bad for their kids and that they were going to warp their minds and make them stab their parents to death in their sleep. And we ended up with, now a copy of Action Comics can sell for millions and millions of dollars because the rest of them went up in smoke. I think this is fascinating. I really enjoyed this. If you are somebody who's into not just comic books, but the history of comic books, and also somebody who just really likes looking at the root causes of these kinds of things, I think you will get a lot out of this book. I do recommend it. I love Eric Powell's art. He really does kind of capture both a level of authenticity and also a level of caricature that is really interesting. And it doesn't shy away from some of the very dark cases that Wertham worked on. So, buckle up. If you're squeamish and you're not into true crime, you are not going to enjoy this book. But I found it fascinating. And on the heels of reading the Eddie Gein book last year, I'm really kind of curious to see what Schechter and Powell get up to next, because this is a really kind of cool trend. New book from Dark Horse came out last year. And yeah, if you're into this stuff, you will be into this stuff. It's really good. And
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating artwork with the like choke of like the lady hanging stuff. I'm like, wow, that's wild.
yeah, like it's interesting because it's not like a full color comic. He uses an ink wash, and he does sort of semi-painted style. Like it's really, I mean, I've always thought Powell was an extraordinary artist, but the vibe that he has both in this and in the Eddie Gein book that he did are really interesting. This sort of spot color using some green on the black and white. It's really kind of got this very haunting quality to it, and it can at first glance seem really simplistic, but I think people who are into visual arts will really like a lot of the stuff that's happening in this book. And last but not least, my last recommendations, I just heard this today. One of my very favorite comic books is a book called Concrete. And Concrete is about, it's a book that came out back in the 80s, started in the 80s. It's been almost 40 years since Concrete first debuted. And the premise is basically that a man is hiking. He gets kidnapped by aliens. They remove his brain and put it into a giant creature that is made out of concrete. And he, in this form, ends up escaping and returns to Earth, but he's a brain stuck in a big body made out of concrete. And it sounds like, a kind of a weird sort of, take on The Thing, maybe from the Fantastic Four. But under Paul Chadwick, who is the writer and the artist, it's this really beautiful exploration of what it means to be a human being and how to have a life and relationships. It sounds like the premise for like a superhero comic. It is nothing to do with superheroes. It is not a superhero comic. It never was. It's about trying to find your humanity when it is almost completely lost, and how to move on with your life after something incredibly traumatic. He's told a bunch of different stories over the years. They're always exquisite. He's an exceptional artist. He's a beautiful storyteller. Lives in Seattle, for what it's worth, I may. Pacific Northwest guy.
There you go.
And they just announced today, Dark Horse Comics is publishing, to mark the 40th anniversary, the first new Concrete story in over a decade, probably it's got to be almost 15 years since the last one. It's a series that's going to be coming out in June, and individual issues starting in June, and it's called Concrete Stars Over Sand. Not too much about it, but I did include a story here from superherohype.com where they are talking about this new series. It's an exclusive from them. They just announced it today, as did Dark Horse themselves. Not much known about it, but I cannot tell you how excited I am to see what Paul Chadwick has in store for more stories of Concrete. It is a hauntingly beautiful story. And if you can read the back issues or the back collected editions, I highly recommend. And I am so excited for more Concrete. So I will get back to you when I start reading it.
Well, as I said earlier today, there was a whole bunch of trailers that showed up. One of the ones I grabbed was Tommy, which is coming to IMAX. And if you're into seeing Anne Margaret writhe around in baked beans, or you enjoy Oliver Reed or The Who, or Eric Clapton.
I love that The Who is the third thing you mentioned.
Yeah. Or what's her name? From the Ike and Tina Turner as the drug queen, I think. Yeah, it's what's interesting about this was when we first moved to Toronto in 1975, Anita and I went to the Varsity Theatre in the same room where I eventually would see Star Wars. And Song Remains the Same, and a bunch of other movies. I think I saw Oppenheimer there too. But we were in this theater to see, back then, you would go see a movie and they would run for 12 weeks. So I don't know when it was. We just went one day, I think a Saturday or something like that. We were the only two people in the entire theater. So, and of course we sat at the back like idiots. But, yeah, and it was an interesting movie back then, and I've seen it a few times. I've seen it on TV a few times, but yeah, it's an interesting experience. Elton John is the pinball wizard. I mean, if you're into the Who music at all, and you want to see what rock operas were done in the 70s, it's an interesting exercise. The fact that it's coming in IMAX, which means it's rezzed up and squared off and all that kind of stuff, right? So
yeah. And it's like killer cast too, like you said, like Jack Nicholson, Anne Margaret, Elton John, Eric Clapton. Like it's nuts.
Yeah,
but it is nuts.
It's
a weird movie.
It is, and it's a very, very twisted sort of idea. And then another one that kind of caught my interest is a one called Normal, which is Bob Odenkirk plays this sheriff guy who's, I guess he's an ex-cop who wants to take an easier job, gets a job as a sheriff in this city called Normal, and there's nothing normal about what happens in the rest of the movie, so it looks like it blows up real good. And you can see that from here. And then since I probably should put a sci-fi one in here, this In the Blink of an Eye is kind of an interesting movie. I mean, the way the music swells, it's got that sort of, I think it's trying to compete with like a Hail Mary kind of vibe to it. So I don't know, it might be a rental. But it does seem to be, it's got that lady from X of Saturday Night Live, the funny one, blonde hair.
So like Kate McKinnon?
Kate McKinnon, yeah. She plays an astronaut, and I think she has kids.
Yeah, I saw this trailer earlier this week. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, but if you watch it, the music is definitely your trailer type music, where it's kind of keeps swelling and swelling and swelling and swelling. The other actresses, I forgot her name now. Anyway, doesn't matter. And then the last one, of course, is Peaky Blinders. If you've not seen Peaky Blinders before, I think it's on Netflix. I'm not sure. Maybe not. But anyway, it's coming out for another season. This is the Cillian Murphy plays Tommy Shelby, who's the leader of the Peaky Blinders. He kind of rises up out of from being a crime lord to being a politician, and now it's his son's, Barry Coogan plays his son. He's come to take over, and he's running the Peaky Blinders now, and so there's he has to come back and kind of thing. And there's one scene where he walks into a bar and one of the army, and it takes place during one of the world wars, and he says, somebody says to him, "Who the hell is Tommy Shelby?" And you see all the Irish guys behind the bar all start slowly ducking behind the bar. Yeah, kind of similar to the scene where in the Grogu Mandalorian trailer where he says, I want to find some information. He throws a coin down, and the guy says, "For that amount of money, you can ask me anything." And he says, "I'm looking for a hut." And he goes, "Oh, sorry, close for the day." And
we forgot to mention that in that trailer. That's what's his name, the director, Scorsese. Yeah. That's Martin Scorsese playing that voice. It looks like him too.
Oh, really? Cool. Oh yeah. I like the fact that he's got multiple arms. It was a really short scene, but yeah, he's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And that was sort of almost like a callback to the noodle scene in Blade Runner too. Anyway, so that's it for me. Like I said, there was probably like 10 or 12 trailers I could have picked through today, but I'm going to give you just those ones for today, and we'll call it there. So if people want to get in touch with you, Jonathan, where would they find you?
Well, start with our Slack channel. We're always there having some fun, sharing trailers, making jokes, making a lot of fun out of last week's appearance by the Attorney General of the United States. But if you don't want to find me there, I'd say maybe you can find me on A. I'm at JPK. You can find me on...
Yeah, why are you JPKA on A?
JPKA?
Yeah.
Oh, they must have changed it because I was at JPK when I signed up.
No, I'm just saying, why wouldn't you be JPKA?
Oh, well, that's true. I mean, I feel like I could put JPK on anything, but yeah, you can find me as JPK News on most of the stuff. But on A, if you're a Canadian fan, you can find me on A as just at JPK because there's one. It's me. Yeah,
I probably should have done that too because early people in Twitter just put their initials on, right? And that was a sort of claim to fame.
There you go.
Being an early adopter, yeah. Anyway.
How about Jaime?
Yeah, where would we find Jaime?
I'm on Instagram as @DevWithTheHair.
All right. Well, my name is Timitra, TIMMITRA, and that's where you'll find me on A and on Blue Sky and Mastodon and just about anywhere else you look. You'll probably find me there. And so until next time, we'll see you in the future. Bye.
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 You've been listening to the Spotcast podcast. If you want to find out more about the podcast or see the episode show notes, visit the Spotcast website at spotcast.com. If you have feedback or questions, you can get in touch with us on the website. If you like the show, please consider recommending us to a friend, writing a review on iTunes, or pledging any amount at patreon.com/spotcast. You can find details on how to help us on our website, spotcast.com/sponsor us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the future.
Labrador here just insists upon getting out of his comfy bed here on my floor that I have yet to find a proper sized rug for it, and tap dances like he's like trying to
I know, it shows up on your record.
I know, and
it shows up on your recording.
Every time he stands up, I reach as fast as I can for the mute button as long as I'm not talking, and this stupid beast comes out here and he's just like, he'll hear a noise upstairs and he'll like leap out of the bed. I'm like, oh my god, it sounds like Gregory Hines doing a tap dancing number.
Hey, you're downstairs now, eh?
Yeah, I moved my office downstairs. Actually, you'll be pretty blown away by the time you see this. I had just built a bunch of new bookcases, and I'm actually making some custom shelves, and it's coming together. I think by the time, hopefully, you guys come down this summer, it's going to be a thing. So,
it might be sooner than that because we're getting a car soon, and I have to figure out what to do with Busy, right? So.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Yep.
I'm just gonna bring all my cars and park them at your place.
That's fine. We got lots of parking space here. Actually, that'd be a fun game to play. I bet you Xavier could calculate that for us. How many cars could you park in our parking lot here? It would be a lot.
You got enough for a party.
I do. I need an excuse. You guys come down and I'll have a party.
Yeah. How long is the property? Like, how wide is it?
That's a good question. I mean, the entire property is 3 acres, and then like, I mean, just that driveway there. Have you ever plowed well, you said you have a guy comes and plows. I have a guy who comes and does a full plow. I do all the walks, and then sometimes I'll just go out with I have a pretty decent snowblower. Nothing like I would not enjoy doing the whole thing, but I've gone out and done a little widening here and there because sometimes he'll leave a bit of a sharp corner or a little bit narrow path, but yeah, I mean, it's not an exaggeration to say you could easily park 100 cars on my property if you wanted to.
I would. Yeah, and then if you really wanted, you could park on the fields too.
Yeah, I mean, depends on how much you want to take a chance. You better have a really good parking brake on my property because it's all built on a hill. So, if you can't park on a hill with a good parking brake, you're going to end up in the St. John River.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, good job. You made it through the episode without gagging quite well.
Yeah.
Oh, I did hit the mute button quite a lot.
Yeah. Did you just get a chest cold? Yeah,
I don't know where I got. I was telling Jaime before, I don't know how I got this because I don't go out.
Yeah.
Right. So this one must have been imported, right? We haven't seen Quinn in weeks, so because Carol's schedule, right? But yeah, I mean, unless like there's been a couple of times where she and Quinn had colds, but I didn't get them. So this may be one that got imported back from one of the high schools that she works at and just brought it back and, made up some lasagna and gave it to me, kind of thing. Yeah, because I hardly go shopping and most of the stuff I buy is online and stuff. So yeah, I don't get out much really, other than to go to shows and concerts and stuff. But yeah, I can't and usually it takes 4 to 5 days for a cold to incubate.
Well, you're pretty good about your mask too. You still keep your mask in your pocket and wear that when you go out to like public events and stuff.
Not all the time. The time. Everybody's gotten a little bit looser. Whenever I'm on the TTC, for sure.
Oh my god, I don't think I'd ever take the TTC again without putting a mask on. That is, speaking of places that incubate, that is one of the number one spots. The Toronto transit system, especially the subway, Jaime, is, I wouldn't say hygienic is the first word that comes to mind. Is there's not a subway system in Seattle, is there? It's all just buses and in town.
The train line, arguably, I wouldn't call it like a regular subway system that is fully underground, like the London Underground kind of thing. There are areas that do go underground. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I seem to remember there being a monorail in a couple spots where it's like above ground.
Yeah, that's it goes to the old exhibition stadium, right?
We've got the one line which goes how far north does it go? Probably Linwood down, which is north of Seattle, down through Seattle, over further south to the airport, SeaTac Airport, and then the big, finally connecting the lines for Line 2, which goes from Redmond, where Microsoft is on the east side, Bellevue, and sort of comes westward to connect across the water, across Lake Washington to Seattle. So that is like having Oakland and San Francisco connected by a train line kind of thing. So regionally, it'll be good. Yeah,
I mean, it seems like the kind of city that should have a good network, given like the volume of workers that have to go from large institution to large institution.
Yeah. If people plan properly, yes. If if people vote properly, yes, I think they had the chance to vote it in like the 70s or 80s. They said nah, which is right before the Microsoft Millionaires happened, which would have been, the best timing ever if they had done it then. Lots of transit stuff is in line for the World Cup. So lots of upgrades being made at the airport, which is nice. Believe it or not, tap to pay for the mass transit instead of having to use our specific transit card called Orca. Unfortunately, it's not as cool as using anybody else's major metro, digital wallet card, but it's getting there. At least you can just like tap to pay with your card or your watch or your phone.
Yeah, Toronto's unfortunately several decades behind where it ought to be, but at least they're slowly, really slowly coming along. Have they announced much about tickets for the World Cup in the Seattle area? I haven't seen much about the stuff down here. I know Boston's hosting a bunch of games. Not that I intend to go down there this summer, but
I don't think they've opened that up yet.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see, like, is it going to be? I mean, it's the World Cup, so it should be expensive. But I'm curious to see how crazy expensive it is.
6 matches start to be hosted in Seattle. Lottery opened in December of 25. Tickets start at 60. That is 60 USD.
Wow, that's pretty darn reasonable. I mean, I imagine you're sitting in the very upper top of. They're playing at the Seahawks Stadium.
Yes, at Lubin Field. Mm-hmm.
What's the capacity there?
Ooh, I don't know off the top of my head. But then, let me see what Lumen Field's soccer capacity is, because they might move stuff around.
That's not where the Sounders play, is it?
Oh, it is.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
that's a big venue for a soccer game. I mean, for a Sounders game. I don't know. I mean, maybe MLS is more popular there than I think, but I think Toronto's is like 18,000, 20,000. They can expand it for World Cup, but that's a lot.
So the normal maximum special event capacity is about 69,000. For the World Cup, they'll hold 69,000.
Wow.
Standard MLS capacity is 37,000.
Do they sell out? That's a huge
for the
number.
37,000. Yeah. So what you normally see if you go to the games is they put beautiful banners covering up the seats on the upper deck.
Yeah, okay.
So it's kind of just the lower deck.
Yeah, that's often what they'll do for some of the. They'll have the Rogers Centre, or the biggest venue in Toronto, and they'll tarp it off when they don't want people to see how empty the upper parts are. Are you going to go see a World Cup game? Do you have any interest?
I do have an interest. I'll probably buy resold tickets, so I can be more choosy of which games I want to see. I don't know exactly who's coming here. But that'll be fun. I've been to a World Cup. What do they call them? Like a prelim?
Yeah, the qualifying.
Qualifying. Yeah, many years ago against USA versus Panama, I believe.
Oh, that would have been good.
That was fun.
Yeah,
it was cold. It was like March or April, and it gets windy because we have an open air stadium. I was sitting, Mari and I were sitting in the Hawk's Nest, which is, if you ever see the stadium on TV, it's the little triangle looking one that when they show the camera angles, you can kind of see the city behind it.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that on TV. Well, I saw that recently in the NFC Championship game, I think.
Windy. Yeah. It's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when it comes to MLS soccer, the Sounders won their first MLS Cup when they had practically a worst to first in season where we fired the coach, got a new coach. And so the significant other always asked me, well, what do you think? I was like, I don't care about the coach. I will sacrifice a coach and his family life every single year.
If we can win some titles.
If we can win. And the Seahawks were victorious in the Superb Owl, last weekend. People pointed out that every time that the Catholic Church elects a new pope, the Seahawks advance to the Super Bowl. So believe it or not, in 2005, Pope Benedict XVI, they reached the Super Bowl. 2013, they had Pope Francis. They won a Super Bowl. and Pope Leo the 14th winning the Super Bowl. So
that is a really random coincidence.
Look, just to be clear, nobody's calling for violence here. Don't radicalize. But if you're very influential, you can abdicate, as Pope Benedict did. So we just need popes to be convinced to leave and have new ones elected if we want this 10-year straight dynasty.
That is an exceedingly random fact that only Seahawks fans would come up with.
It's nuts. People find crazy stuff, Stats heads are like, hey, did you know? Every time High C comes out with Ecto Cooler.
Oh, God, yeah.
The New York Yankees go to the World Series or something, something nuts like that.
Did the city go nuts? Was it like was it euphoria as the Seahawks won and celebrated?
Yes, something like 1 million people. I don't think there was any serious arrests or anything. I was unfortunately out of town in Atlanta for a work trip, so I had to just sort of view from afar. That seemed like it was a real shindig.
Yeah.
I went to the one in 2013, 2014 when they won that first Super Bowl, and that was wild as well.
Yeah. Whenever I see a team winning the Super Bowl, I always try and do a little math in my head of, what two teams are in it, who's more likely to burn their city to the ground, and the answer is always the Eagles. But after that, I try and figure out who's second most likely to burn the place down.
Yeah, they grease the poles, is what I was telling my significant other.
Absolutely.
Like, during the game, they grease the poles because you don't know
Which
win or
sounds
lose.
like a joke, but they legitimately grease the poles. Like, it sounds like something you'd make up. You're like, no, they try and do that so that people don't die on the streets when they're drunk out of their minds, shirtless, lighting things on fire and celebrating in Philadelphia.
This is the maybe it's already been done because there's been so many comic books, but this is the lore I want to see for Spider-Man. Like, what is the extent of his stickiness? I think he requires solid material and therefore greased poles. I assume he would fall off of to his head mysteriously. Like, what the heck? Why am I not sticking? He's like, well, it's greasy. That's why.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, speaking of which, do you think it's weird that there's a Spider-Man movie coming out like really soon and we haven't seen a trailer yet?
It is
the dark one or the didn't he get injured?
No, well, not like Spider. That? We saw Spider Noir. No, I mean like the Tom Holland movie. It's supposed to come out in like June, and we haven't seen not even a teaser so far. That seems really random. Like usually look at like what they put out the Avengers Doomsday teaser trailers. Those like little 1 minute ones that they did. They did 5 of those trailers a year out from Avengers Doomsday. We're like 4 months away from the next Spider-Man movie, and there hasn't even been a teaser trailer yet. That seems weird.
Yeah, this is what, Brand New Day?
Yeah. I saw somewhere online this week someone posted that they put out on the website for the publisher of the novelization of the movie, put out like a 1-paragraph synopsis of what happens broadly in the movie this week, and people were just like eating it up because they're like, this is one of the first things we've actually heard about this movie. And it just seems really random that the Spider-Man franchise does really well for Marvel, and people love Tom Holland and Zendaya, and it just seems really weird that like we haven't heard anything this like point. Usually they're way out in front of this stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a different strategy. I mean, you're right that they would normally have a Super Bowl commercial because it's not that far away. You maybe do Olympics, or maybe they'll do the Academy Awards. Like, they should pick something, right, that a lot of people are going to be watching.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's like, I don't know. You Super Bowl, no. Olympics, no. Like, when's? Yeah, right. I guess the next sort of big monocultural event is probably the Academy Awards, which are the second week of March, like 3 weeks from now. I don't know. It just seems. It occurred to me when I was reading that piece this week. I was like, that's weird that there hasn't been a lot of hype about this yet. But like, that's. I don't know if I should feel good. Like, hey, we were just kind of making fun of trailers for being a little too, a little too packed with information, especially, I think we're all a little pissed about the Project Hail Mary one, but it seems weird that there's like just crickets from the Spider-Man stuff. Maybe it's terrible and they don't want to talk about it.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe Sony's dropping the ball here. They closed a video game studio, or maybe a couple of studios recently. So I wonder if they're doing cutbacks on things like Super Bowl commercials, which are what, $8 million for a 30-second slot?
Yeah, I mean that's bonkers, but not that Disney can't afford that. But
yeah, I don't know the split on the marketing for Disney and Sony when it comes to the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, Marvel makes the movie, Sony profits from the movie. Who's responsible for marketing? Yeah, fair question. I don't know. Maybe in this treasure trove of trailers that Tim stumbled upon, maybe there's something there. Maybe more is leaking out soon. But it just seems like a little glaring when you step back and look at it.
No, really.
Well, it is 1:20 in the morning here on the lovely Atlantic time, so I'm going to go to bed since I probably should pretend to work tomorrow. So I'm gonna call it.
Okay.
Jaime, are you with us next week?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, we'll be.
Righty.
Okay, kids.
All right.
Talk to you later.
See you
later.
Bye.
Bye.